The Force Losers Podcast with Brad and Kev.
Am I being heard?
I'm gonna start from the top. Then,
Can people hear my nerdy nasally voice, which no one decided to tell me that I had? By the way, you rat bastards! Jesus Christ! I listened to the first recording and I was like, "Wow, I really need my Flonase medication." I was like, "Wait, my allergies weren't bothering me."
Hey, it sounds on. You were here last time.
Well, that's the
Hey, lady.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I sound in the first recording.
He does sound like Professor Fink sometimes.
Shut the fuck up.
Right now, you sound clogged up. Nasal spray.
But see, that's the thing. I always sound the same to me. Like I don't hear that. I've been told before.
All right. And with that, we're back with episode 2, bitches. Episode 2. Attack of the Douches.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, man, we are douchebags.
That's true.
So this is our Halloween episode, man, because it's October 7th, and my house is fucking dressed to the nines.
I've noticed.
Well, actually, we decorated it as of September 4th, so everyone in our neighborhood knows that we're the weird motherfuckers with our Halloween decorations up just past Labor Day.
Because they didn't make that distinction before, right?
No, they didn't get the they didn't get the
memo.
No, and they didn't get it when I was exercising in my garage, shirtless, blaring black metal and death metal. They didn't catch it then.
Did you have a boner while you worked out?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
So they should know.
Nothing is more invigorating, Brad, than deadlifting with a full chub. I mean, the pain is really what it helps you lock out the lift.
To your glutes, sir.
Thank you. So, man, we're back. It's fucking episode 2, and I'm stoked about this.
I've been excited, man.
Yeah.
It's felt good because now we get the chance to change what we've been, to learn, make the changes we want to.
Yeah, we're going to get better at this as we go along. And I'd like to tip my energy drink to all 53. Okay, no, let's call it what it is, because I probably listened to it at least 3 times on my own. So we'll call it 50.
I've listened to it about 4.
50 people on the YouTubes that have listened to the Force Losers podcast. And if you are listening again, welcome back. And we hope you enjoy this next episode.
We hope you're a regular.
Yeah, I hope so. So, given that it's Halloween, man, Brad, what are you guys doing for Halloween? What are your Halloween plans?
I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, I haven't been trick-or-treating in years. I'm too big, man. Too big. I look too old to be trick-or-treating when I was 15.
Nah, man, you could be like, you could just tell them, like, I'm a 10-year-old with an insane growth spurt. Why not?
But see, no one's gonna buy that. I mean,
who gives a shit?
I had my last good Halloween in Las Vegas, Nevada, when we lived there. Where the first house I hit gave me like 5 handfuls of candy because she had candy to spare, which was awesome.
Fucking A.
And then after that, I mean, by myself, I filled up like, those tote boxes? I filled up a tote box by myself.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That was a great Halloween.
Just do it now. I mean, if they're like, hey man, you're clearly in your 20s, just knock the other kids out of the way, jaw jack them right across the nose, and then take the candy anyway. They do say trick or treat. You are well within your rights, sir, to give them a trick.
No, but the wife's been decorating for Halloween.
Right on.
And then we might just, stay home, pass out candy. If we can find costumes, we're gonna be Yzma and Krunk.
Fucking A, dude.
And clearly I'll be Krunk.
How often is she gonna tell you to pull the lever?
Is
that gonna be innuendo?
Given who my wife is, yes to both.
Hey now. We did go to Fright Fest down at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. That was fun, mostly because your wife was scared of everything.
Yeah, that's my wife.
That was amazing. Actually, okay, so every October the Six Flags parks, they do this thing called Fright Fest. I'm sure everyone's aware. And we went down the first night of Fright Fest. Brad, myself, and our wives went down there. We hung out, and they have these. First off, they have these things called scare zones now, which I think is kind of bullshit because when I was a kid, everything was the scare zone. Like they had
everything was free game.
Exactly. Everyone, like the characters were just walking around at random, and they would fucking scare you at random. you know. But now they're like, okay, here comes the scare zone, and you can see all this.
Granted, I mean, it's not like they put out warning signs or anything. It's
True.
It's just basically anything enshrouded by fog machines
True.
is a scare zone.
And to that end, I'll be fair, it is badass. They have like really cool costumes.
It is really cool how they do it.
So anyway, to make a long story short, what we do is when we go there is we literally sit there and watch kids get scared, and then we talk shit about them.
Oh yeah,
because I think that's the most hilarious thing in the world to me. And I'm going to say this: if I was a parent, I would do the same thing. I would drag my kids into those scare zones just to watch them get scared,
flounder.
and then admonish them for being scared. Like, quit being a bitch. So, and then at the end of the night, we're all hanging out around like the opening area of the park. We're just kind of chilling, sitting down. And this guy in zombie makeup literally, like, he didn't even sneak up on Brooke either. He
blatantly walked.
He telegraphed his arrival, and as he got closer, she just got more and more terrified, and it was the most funny and adorable thing I've ever seen. It was great. It was great. That was the highlight of the night. And I bought a Green Lantern T-shirt, so that was cool too.
Oh, it's give and take.
And then just last night we went down to Halloween pub run downtown.
Oh, okay.
So like they do it's called First Friday, so they do pub runs every first Friday of the month, and this one was the Halloween theme. We do it. We've done it 2 years now. I think this is the second year, and we went dressed up as Frankenstein and her monster. So I guess instead of Victor Frankenstein, she'd be like Victoria Frankenstein.
Yeah,
I suppose. So I had the full makeup on.
Because Dr. Frankenstein doesn't like to have labels put on it.
What if Frankenstein was like trans and he's like Victoria, Victor, just depends on the day.
Well, but I mean, isn't the whole point of Frankenstein that he wants a companion to live his entire life through?
Is that the point?
I think that's.
I mean, full disclosure, I've never read Mary Shelley's book.
As far as I remember, that's like the whole point why he's so angry and why he like kills the doctor and everything is because it's like the doctor promised him a companion to live his infinite life through.
Right.
But the doctor can't, I guess, perform.
Oh.
And so the monster gets pissed off and kills him.
Right.
I mean, granted, he's not that smart, but I mean,
right.
From what I remember of the Frankenstein story.
Oh, okay. See, I've never read it, so maybe I have to. Like the one thing I did read recently, actually, I didn't read it. I listened to an audiobook of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, wait for it.
Mm-hmm.
Read by Christopher Lee.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That dude.
He has the voice for it.
I know. If he was still alive, he could read court documents, and I would still be interested.
Oh, yeah.
And it reminded me that he did read a Tolkien book. He read The Children of Húrin, and I have to get that now because he read Bram Stoker's Dracula brilliantly, and it was really cool because I hadn't read that book in a long time, and I forgot how fucking clever it was to be written entirely in diary entries. I forgot how fucking clever it was.
You really have to think on the story.
Exactly.
I went to a place for books, and I like going there because they have like the certain section of books that's like on sale for like $8 a book.
Right.
And I mean, it doesn't matter how thick that damn book is.
Right.
Like I own the first 4 novels of the Tarzan story. I own the original Dracula, still bound in leather.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
I know. Like, and I remember because they did it all in diary entries. So you really don't know what's going on unless you like really pay attention. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, here for me. You know what kind of nerd I am.
Right.
For like video games where you really have to look throughout the map to find like those lure objects that give you parts of the story.
Okay.
And you really have to read through it and you really have to pay attention to really get what's going on.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of something like you get nothing but foreshadowing, but at the same time, if you pay attention, you read all of it and you read it all in order, you'll know what's going on.
Right. Okay, I got it. That's fucking cool. And so we're going back to the pub run. We dressed up and we met up a bunch of our friends and we went to basically the premise of the pub run is you go to one club and then you go to the next club, you go to the next club, and then everyone's in costume for the most part. So all of our friends were in costume and shit, and it was a good time. It's a good time had by all. Like it's funny for me because like I go to a club and I don't dance. It's not my scene. It's not my music, but I dig on the positive vibes. Like I dig on the vibe of the room.
You like to people watch.
Right, exactly. Like the first club we went to, everyone was dancing in this big group, and then just beyond our group, there's a pair of couples, and they're like wife swapping right there on the dance floor. And so I'm sitting there and I'm fucking watching this, and I'm thinking like
hell?
someone is going to have quite the adventurous evening when they leave here.
Either one or both of them. Oh, that went down wrong. Okay.
Yeah, and they weren't there for the Halloween pub run. They were in plain clothes, so they were there just to pregame before the epic fucking session.
So for all you know, they could have already orchestrated this whole thing.
Oh yeah, you could tell because it was all planned out. Because like it was literally like the dudes were on one end and the wives were just swapping back and forth.
That's.
And it's.
I want to say that's weird, but it's really not because
You
there's a
know-
lot of people nowadays who do that. Actually,
More power to them, dude. More
Yeah,
power
no,
to
I mean,
them. If that's their thing,
it's their choice.
Good for you. Oh, there goes Batfleck.
Oh no. Here, I got it.
There's just no hope with these things. We have on the desk here. We have a plastic mask of Batman from Batman v Superman, and hold your comments, thank you. And Kylo Ren. We got those from Goodwill, so I thought they'd be cool.
Might I suggest, Master Wayne, that you land on your head?
That's from the Christopher Nolan series.
Well, I know, but
That's
I mean,
that's
You
my,
really
that's
don't
my
get-
cocaine's Alfred.
yes, but I mean,
My
if the-
favorite, personally.
Oh yeah, no, he nailed Alfred.
Oh yeah. I mean,
That's-
I'm gonna give Jeremy Irons a chance because it's fucking Jeremy Irons. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, he's gonna nail it.
But at the same time, they don't give you a whole lot of interaction with that Alfred and Bruce
not yet,
Wayne.
not yet.
Not yet. I mean, we'll see the next
Justice
movie.
League's coming out in just
know.
about a month and a half. So,
So nice.
and actually, I think a new trailer is dropping tomorrow for that.
Is it?
Oh, Sunday,
Just
October
tomorrow?
the 8th. Yeah, I think they're dropping a new
Then
trailer.
I we can probably fit that in for what is it, Tuesday?
Maybe. I mean, because rumors are that the Last Jedi final theatrical trailer is dropping on the 9th. Mark Hamill let that slip on his Twitter feed, and he had to immediately retract.
Mark Hamill?
A fan asked him, when are we going to see the next trailer for The Last Jedi? And he said, watch Monday Night Football on October 9th. And I guess the bigwigs at Lucasfilm and Disney were like, hey, pull it back. So he had to like delete it. So now everyone's like, oh, well, we know what's going to happen on the 9th, and it's going to happen during Monday Night Football. Because I think that's what happened with The Force Awakens. So if that trailer does, in fact, drop on Tuesday, we're probably going to do a Facebook Live video reacting to it on our Facebook. So
I'll give everyone the address on that one at the end. Because now that I have all the social media set up and I have all of our mediums set up, I'll go ahead and give the addresses for all of those at the end.
We're getting there, man. So, you know, I hate to start off another episode with a tragedy.
If there's one thing I've learned, this is why I'm a nerd, is the fact that humanity has such a talent for self-destruction.
Yeah. And I get what you're saying, too, because I use these mediums to try to find what's best about humanity.
Yeah.
Because in these stories, they do exemplify what is best in us and what we are most capable of.
But at the same time, the whole reason you have to have that is because it exemplifies what's the worst about us.
Yeah, to escape from what's the worst about us.
Exactly.
So, you know, I have to speak about what happened in Las Vegas. Like, I have to, just because Vegas is very near and dear to me and my wife. It's where we go to find our happy. Not only that, but it's home to members of our family. They live there.
I've lived there. I lived there for a year and a half in my childhood.
Exactly.
I loved living in Vegas.
Exactly. It's a town that when you go there, yeah, you might expect to lose some money, but that's about the worst that's going to happen to you.
Yeah,
That's about the worst that's going to happen. You know, you go there looking for a good time, and honestly, 99% of the time, you achieve that goal. You have an amazing time there.
Oh yeah.
It's a city that it's bristling with life and energy.
Yeah, it's people there. It's people who are there just to live.
Right.
Like, a lot of people think, oh, well, it's probably going to be crime-ridden and everything. It's really not. No. Even the worst parts of Las Vegas are pretty nice.
Right.
Like, I can remember as a kid walking up and down the strip with my parents and my sister because we were just out there to have a good time. We were having family time.
Right.
And I forget what it is. The pirates on the side of the strip, just as you're walking down, they do this whole skit where there's pirates fighting like English Navy and everything and all that.
Well, unfortunately, that's gone now.
Is it really?
Yeah, they got rid of it.
Why the hell would they get rid of that?
Money, I guess. You know, so when we woke up on Monday morning, everyone saw what had happened out there. And, I mean, me personally, I still can't watch video from it. I can't. It churns my stomach.
Yeah.
Because and then our first thoughts, of course, are like, is our family okay?
Yeah.
Are they fine? Did they go down to this concert? And thankfully, no. Nobody that lives out there in our family, none of them were there, so they're all
good.
safe. But
God
just
bless.
as I had to say to anyone who was injured or there, I am deeply sorry that your life has been immeasurably and irrevocably changed.
Yes.
And I'm sorry that you went down there just to a concert, just to have a good time. And one madman did what he did and affected that many people. So, I mean, if there's one thing I know about Las Vegas, it's resilient. It's a resilient fucking city.
Oh God, yes.
And it bounces back.
Yes.
So, and we're here at the Force Losers, man. We're not here to get political. We're not here to try to persuade your beliefs. We know where we stand, and that's enough. All we want to do is use this as a platform to do what is best about us and connect us through shared interest and passion. So, yeah, I had to talk about Vegas. I had to.
Yeah.
I had to. It was. Nothing that guy did is going to stop any of us from going to see concerts, and it's damn sure not going to stop me from going back to Las Vegas next year because it's happening.
No.
I'm not going to let any bullshit like that stop us, and neither should anyone else. Fuck that guy. If that happens, that's a damn fucking shame. Because fuck that guy.
Yeah, no, you can't let something like that alter anything. Because if anything changes because of it, it should only be that people are more careful with these concerts.
I mean,
not like people who go to them, but like the people who orchestrate these venues, where you have a congregation of people who are just there to enjoy their lives.
Right.
If anything, put it somewhere where no one's going to have a vantage point to do anything to this concert. Right. Up security, stuff like that.
Right.
Don't let it affect your personal life.
Right.
Don't let it affect you enjoying yourself. Don't
Right.
let it affect you living your life.
Right. And unfortunately these things bleed into things that we do for fun. I mean, we now have to worry about going to a concert. We have to worry about going to the movie theaters. We have to worry about doing these things that we shouldn't have to worry about. It shouldn't be one of those things. We should be going there to kind of let loose and escape and have fun. But unfortunately now we have to keep that in our heads.
It's like
right?
I said, just something that I was always the whole reason I'm before I married, I was an antisocial nerd.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't worry about social interaction of any kind. I was mostly on the internet my entire life.
Right.
And it's because I'm amazed by mankind's ability for self-destruction.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah.
It's I don't want to deal with the people who that shit's going to happen to.
Right. Right. Unfortunately, that's the reality of the world we live in.
Yes.
Now, I understand you had someone you wanted to acknowledge.
Yes. Before I got married and before I had the circle of friends I have, and people got to understand the circle of friends I have are very supportive.
Right.
And I appreciate all of them, including you, Kevin.
Thank you.
And before I got married, where I had the support of my wife, I was in a dark place in my life.
Right.
And people are and this is gonna catch people off guard. Stand-up comedians helped me cope.
Right.
That's really it. I looked for anyone or anything that could make me laugh.
Okay.
Anyone, and like we said with the concerts, anyone who could make me enjoy my life.
Right.
That was really it. One of those comedians was a Southerner named Ralphie May.
Uh-huh.
And he talks about himself in his stand-up comedian movies and everything and his big jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, he did pass away October 6th this year at the age of 45. Incredibly.
Oh, that's too soon.
Incredibly too soon. And it's really unfortunate because, you get comedians and I kind of hold stand-up comedians in a special place in my heart in general, just because it takes a special kind of person who can stand up and make people laugh for a living.
That's true.
Someone who can really, really distract people from the hard times in their lives.
Very true.
And, again, I had a lot of stand-up comedians who distracted me from a hard time in my life.
Right.
And, you have comedians like Christopher Titus. Very, very funny man.
Yeah.
Who takes the pain of his life and turns it into jokes for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And I know quoting him is everyone wants revolution, but no one's willing to pack a lunch.
Okay.
And something he also quoted someone else from saying is, every joke is a tiny revolution. You get Gabriel Iglesias, who's very big name right now.
Right.
He's quoted saying, unity through laughter.
I can understand that.
Saying we can be together if we just learn to laugh.
I can understand that.
And I mean, it's people like those who just hold a special place in my heart because they bring everyone together. I mean, you can't watch a stand-up comedian who makes you laugh and be upset.
Right.
But Ralphie May was one of those ones who really saw me through a tough time.
Okay.
And I mean, he was very funny. And I mean, unfortunately, like I haven't seen him in a stand-up special in a long time because, and I found this out after he died. He's been going through divorce.
Oh, that sucks.
Yes, and he's been going through a custody battle for his two children with his wife.
That's awful. That's terrible.
And then you also have apparently before he died, he was battling with pneumonia for 6 weeks.
6 fucking weeks?
6 weeks, and even during those 6 weeks, he made every single Las Vegas showing.
Really?
Every single one.
Wow.
I mean, he was dedicated to his job. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he did was good.
Wow.
And unfortunately, they found him in his residence, and he had apparently passed away of cardiac arrest.
That sucks, dude.
At the age of 45, it's too soon. And honestly, my life personally, and I mean, I don't know about the world in general, but my life personally is a darker place without him.
Right.
Because he brought us so much laughter. And I mean, and I know his comedy is not for everyone because he is very offensive. He is very racy. He is very. One of his comedy specials is called Ostentatious, which by definition is you don't give a fuck what other people think about what you say.
Right. As far as I'm concerned, that's an admirable quality.
Yes.
You know.
And I mean, it's very unfortunate that he passed away, but
and
he will be missed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's you bring up something really interesting that even these individuals that are so far away from our personal lives, they still have a profound impact on us.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I felt that when Robin Williams passed away.
Yes.
That one, it kind of hit me.
It touched a certain
spot. It did,
spot.
because, I mean, I struggle with mental illness. I can't say I struggle with it because I've been in treatment since I was 24, so 5 years now, being bipolar. And, I know Robin Williams' circumstances were very different, but it just goes to show that these people that are so integral to our lives, like in the case of your case with Ralphie May or Robin Williams, and that they're in everything. They touch everything, and when those people are no longer on this plane of existence, you feel that sucking feeling that there's just something voided there.
Yes.
But all you can do from this point forward is just pay tribute to everything he did right.
Yes.
Because even though the person is gone, their body of work is still there. I said the same thing about Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead when he passed away. No matter what, he had 50 years of music that he left by, and that's music that is going to touch people from here until time immemorial, just like Ralphie May's stand-up will touch people from here to time immemorial. I mean, think about how we still talk about Richard Pryor. We still talk about those great comedians. And I'm sure he'll be counted among them. So now that we've explored the depths of the feels,
it's like you said. Yeah, I was gonna say we managed to get through this part of the episode without tears.
Yeah,
but it's like you said on the first one. That's not what the show's about.
Yeah,
so let's move on.
It's not about tragedy. It's about connection. It's about passion. So now we have an incredible amount of news to talk about. I mean, just looking at our list, it's a lot.
It's a good one.
Right. So let's get on with the news and reviews. Hit the music.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Okay. So at the top, the tippy top of our news to talk about, we got to talk about what's going on with Star Wars Episode 9 and it's director drama.
Oh, Jesus, tap dancing Christ.
But, okay, so just a quick summary. Colin Trevorrow was fired from writing and directing episode 9. And there was a couple days where nobody knew who they were going to bring in, and this was I mean, how many directors they got? They fired Miller and Lord. Mm-hmm. They fired Josh Trank at one point. He was working on an untitled solo movie. And then now Colin Trevorrow. So they've gone through at least 3
or 4
directors. So a couple days went by, no one knew what was going to happen. People were talking about this director and that director. Ryan Johnson's name was already thrown out there, And then a couple days, J.J. Abrams. Mm-hmm. They announced J.J. Abrams is coming back to close out the trilogy. So what do you think about this, Brad? What are your thoughts on this?
I love J.J. Abrams' work. I really do.
Right.
It's seldom that I have been able to find something of his work that I don't like.
Oh, okay.
And I'm excited about it. I really do. I mean, it's really you don't realize how much the directors influence something until you watch something that changes hands of directors over and over.
Okay.
Like, that's just an example. You get something like, I think Transformers. Did they all have the same director?
I don't know. All I know is that Michael Bay had his explodey little fingers all over him.
I know that, but I'm trying to think. There's been a couple of series I know off the top of my head. Unfortunately, I don't. But off the top of my head, I can't think of any. But there's been a couple of series that I like to enjoy that has changed directors 3 or 4 times. But
right.
I mean, if you watch the different episodes, like, okay, here, it's like with comic books.
Uh-huh.
You can definitely, if you read comic books and you look at who the artist and the writer was,
they all have their own flair.
They all have their own flair.
When it comes to DC,
yes.
you know if Greg Capullo has drawn a Batman book. Like,
yes.
You know his style.
Yes.
So, yeah, I get what
exactly.
you're saying.
It's something like that where
right.
You have to know who the director was. You have to know who the writer was. You have to know the artist was in order to really see the differences in these stories.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people have been talking about how J.J. Abrams, sometimes he has trouble closing out things or he leaves things open-ended. However, this is going to be different for J.J. Abrams, I think, because when it came to episode 7, he had a blank slate.
Yes.
I mean, him and Lawrence Kasdan were basically, they were determining what was canon from that point.
Yeah.
They had a pretty clean slate, but now they're not going to have that. They don't have a clean slate because now everything has to fall within the story group.
Yes.
Like the story group has to be part of this discussion. So this is going to be interesting for JJ because now he has to work within some constraints a little bit now.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to do everything he might want to do.
But at the same time, wasn't he... And I'm drawing a blank right now just because I'm drinking on an empty stomach. But didn't J.J. Abrams direct episode 7?
Yeah, he did.
Well, so see, at least
he had writing credits and directing credits.
So at least with him, it's restrictions that he's set for himself.
To an extent, yeah, and he's within these because you're seeing that right now.
Yeah.
And the fact that they fired so many directors, it's because they weren't willing to work within the boundaries.
Yes.
And I really like what Kevin Smith has to say about these. He's like, when you come in to direct one of these franchises, you might be able to sneak a little bit of yourself in there, but you're there just to make sure the show goes on. You're there to make sure that the crew gets everything done, the vision is executed, and at the end of the day, Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm and the story group, they have the vision.
Yes.
So this is going to be interesting in that I appreciate that it came back to JJ because he has a lot of reverence for the franchise.
Oh, God,
he might not have the best opinions, as far as I'm concerned, he might have the best opinions about the prequels.
Well,
that's okay, though. That's okay.
But how many of us don't? I mean, and I'm not saying that to make anyone
Right.
angry, but I'm just saying.
Even though he has his opinions on the prequels, he knows that that's part of the saga. You can't sidetrack that. And he is. So I'm cool about this. I'm cool with this.
I'm glad it went back to because I know at the end of directing episode 7, I know he's actually said before he's not going to direct another one.
Yeah.
He's not going to be involved.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it went back to him because now you get that same. I don't know how to say this, but that same almost like that same reverence
Yeah.
you got with the 7th.
Yeah, and what's really good with JJ is you could tell that he got the best performances out of those actors.
God,
Because
yes.
I remember when episode 7 came out, of course you had the reviews that it was like, oh, it's just like A New Hope. It's shades of A New Hope, which it was supposed to be, but we're not going to touch that right now.
But that's a Star Wars movie.
Exactly.
because
They have to mirror each other.
Exactly.
But what the critics, even the people that were most critical about that movie, they did say that the acting was spectacular. I mean, John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaacs. He said they just knocked it out of the park.
Yes.
And I gotta respect JJ because he managed to get Harrison Ford to act.
With emotion.
Yeah, and not just play the constant curmudgeon. Which, don't get me wrong, I love Harrison to death for that. I love how blunt he is. He's probably one of my favorite people to watch an interview with. But he got him to be animated. He got Harrison Ford to actually act like Han Solo.
Yes, and we'll talk more about that one on
Right.
the 9th.
Give or take, yeah.
But yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I wanted to touch on the episode 9 news.
Yes.
Brad has got some upcoming games for us
Yes.
this month. What do you got for us, my friend?
Well, I mean, and you know what? This segment gets increasingly difficult with time because one of the it's hard to really look into game news when for E3, which is the Comic-Con of gaming.
Okay.
It's the ultimatum.
Okay.
It's basically the panel where every nerd who can get a seat sits in a conference and watches the main creators of the gaming world right now present these new ideas. It's where they present new game systems, where they present the new games coming out for the year. It's what companies save all of their top projects for.
Oh, right.
It's the ultimatum.
Okay, so it's like the San Diego Comic-Con of
Yes.
Gotcha.
God, it's everything. But for this month, we've got, and actually it goes really good with the month for October. With
Okay,
Halloween
so it's
and
got
everything.
some creepy shit.
It does. They are actually making a Friday the 13th game.
Really?
Yes.
Fucking A. Give
and
me the premise. Give me the premise.
Okay, there's a game right now that's been out for a little bit that people have been playing for a while called Death by Daylight.
Okay.
The whole premise of the game is you have 4 players who play survivors.
Okay.
Their whole job is to start up these electronic generators, and once they've got the generators, they can flip a switch that opens a door, and they escape from an area.
Okay.
There's a 5th player in the game. That whole 5th player plays a serial killer or monster of some kind. Their whole objective is to kill the other 4.
Okay.
And they basically went the same way with this
fucking
Friday
gnarly.
the 13th game.
Okay.
You play Jason, you're in the neighborhood, and your whole objective is to kill the other 4 survivors.
Okay. So they're using that template and just kind of
Yeah.
Okay.
But they also have another map where it's the movie where Jason it's like after the sex scene and all that where Jason shows up at the campfire and
Okay.
kills the girl wearing the miniskirt.
Which one was that? Was that with 3?
I believe it was the first one.
Well, because the first one was his mother.
That's right.
Yeah, the first one
it might
was
have
his
been
mother.
the second one then. It's hard to
Was it
remember.
when he still had like the bag over his head?
No, it's when they actually had the hockey mask.
Okay, so that had to have been 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Or maybe anything after 3 essentially
Yeah.
because he got the hockey mask in 3.
Where you got the ascot wearing motherfucker, or no, it wasn't even ascot. It was
Because I know in what was it 3 or 4 he harpooned a dude in a wheelchair with he lanced a guy in a wheelchair, which was hilarious to
that
me.
might have. What's the hardest part about eating a vegetable? The wheelchair.
Hey! There goes about 10 of our viewers. That's fucking badass though.
I think that one was 4.
Okay.
I think that was 4, but it's essentially like literally the start of the game mode is you're like there's 4 or 5 people who play the survivors around the campfire, and literally the opening cinema is this girl wearing a miniskirt walking back towards the campfire, and Jason comes up behind her and she takes an axe to the back of the head.
That had to have been 3. That's what he
I
was
think
saying.
so, yeah. But he kills her, and the other survivors see it, and they all scream and run away. Your whole job as Jason is to find them, kill them before they call the cops and escape.
Okay, so is this game going to be like the movies, which is like a giant PSA for like teens not having sex? Because that's what every movie is. Every
Yeah.
movie is like, kids, don't fuck. Because if you fuck, some mangled up dude in a hockey mask is going to kill you.
Well,
Because I mean, I guess in the '80s, venereal disease didn't scare them enough. They had to have a fucking
They had to
hockey
have a
mask
serial
wearing
killer.
serial killer. So what else is coming out in October, man?
let's see. We also have. Oh, here. This is a good one. It's Middle Earth.
What?
Shadows of War.
Oh yes! Fuck yeah! Shadow
Yes.
of War. We were just talking about what games I would actually play.
Yes.
That's fucking one of them.
Have you played Shadows of Mordor?
I have not. I've only watched
so
the
cool.
cutscenes. I've only watched.
It's
'cause
awesome.
Any fucking game that drops Celebrimbor, the
Yes.
fucking Forger of the Rings, dude. I'm getting a chub right now. I'm gonna have to cross my legs, dude. This is bad. So tell me more about Shadows of War. Tell me more. Tell me more.
Shadows of War. It is a continuation of the first game.
Okay, so you're still the Ranger,
I believe so.
and you're like half Ranger, half Celebrimbor.
Yes.
Okay.
And they change it up a little bit, as in the fact that in the first game where you targeted certain orcs,
Okay.
you fought your way up like their command tree,
Okay.
and like you had to fight certain outposts.
Right.
With this one, I get the vibe because it's not out yet. It comes out on the 10th.
Okay.
And what the vibe I'm getting with this one is that it's more army based.
Okay.
There is much more. There's larger combat,
Okay. So
larger scale.
answer me this if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Where does this story, this narrative, where does it fit?
It's tough to say. It seems like it's when Aragorn is growing up.
Okay,
it's
so
when
it's-
Aragorn is growing into the ranger he's going to be for Fellowship.
Okay, because you got to understand, because Aragorn's 87 years old.
Yes, I realize
at
that
the time
I
of the War
realize
of the
that.
Ring, because
Yes.
he's of the race of Numenor. He has
Yes.
like a longer life. So this is when he's doing his wanderings and shit. So
It seems like it. Yes.
So does this ranger have any connection to him?
I
Because if he's a
want- I
ranger, he's
don't-
obviously one of the Dunedain, right?
Yeah.
Which means that he's
he's
of
a ranger.
Numenorian race.
I don't want to say it's his father because I believe if I remember correctly, it's been God knows how long since I played the first one. It seems like
What's
the
the
ranger-
character's name?
oh God, I can't
Let me
remember.
look that up. Go ahead, keep
Yeah,
explaining.
but what it seems like is you're a ranger who fought alongside him, who fought alongside a young Aragorn.
Young Aragorn or Arathorn? His father.
I believe Aragorn.
Okay.
But I don't think you're his father, if I remember correctly. But what I think it is that you are someone who fought alongside him, and you died at like the engagement on the Black Gates when
His name
Sauron.
is Talion? Is that his name?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Basically, if I remember correctly, in the first cinematic, like the tutorial for the first game, you fight on the Black Gates before Sauron rises.
Is
And
this in
it's
the second age or the third age?
Third.
Okay.
And it's basically when the orcs took over the Black Gate.
Okay.
That's the tutorial. And the game follows immediately after they take over the Black Gate.
Oh, he's a ranger of Gondor. Okay, so
Yes.
he's not one of the Dunedain.
No.
Okay, and he was a ranger of Gondor assigned to guarding the Black Gate.
Yes.
So
like
this was-
I think he was the main protector of the Black Gate.
Okay,
like, he
so
was,
this was
he
before
was the leader.
Sauron
Rises.
re-seized the Black Gate and established it.
Well,
okay.
the tutorial is Sauron seizing the Black Gate.
Okay, so that's when he's come back from Dol Guldur
Yes.
as the necromancer, and he's reassumed his seat in Mordor.
Yes.
After the White Council banished him.
Exactly.
See, I'm a fucking Tolkien boss, motherfucker.
I know.
We're gonna get into that later. don't
See,
worry.
that's the bad thing about me talking about a Lord of the Rings game, because I know you're gonna get excited.
Yeah.
And I know
And I'm gonna
you're
start trying to piece like where does it belong?
Exactly.
Okay.
You're gonna school me in knowledge.
Okay, so that's coming out. Fucking A. What's
Yes.
next?
A game that's actually been really, and this is another scary, creepy game.
Okay.
The Evil Within 2.
Okay, what's the evil within?
The Evil Within. Okay, have you ever heard of holy crap, I can't think of it now. Have you ever heard of Silent Hill?
Yes. Yes, I
It's-
have.
It's Silent Hill, but the horrors are a little bit less dramatic.
Okay.
It's not like a person who's like 8 people put together in a human centipede. It's more.
Human
I know.
Sentai pad.
Shut up.
Vanilla paste! Vanilla paste! Sorry, I broke Bradford for a second.
Oh god, I love that episode. Oh my god, this is awesome! Free
Just the-
Wi-Fi
ju-
and Kyle gets to eat shit.
Just the sounds that Kyle make when the shit went into his mouth. That
And
was the best.
He was motorboating that ass.
Dude, it
too.
was, dude. Okay, so tell me about the Evil Within 2. What's this thing? What is this game?
Okay, and I believe I haven't actually played the first one, but I've been paying attention to the second one because based off of what I've seen for the second one, I might actually want to play the first one.
Right.
But it looks like it's like Silent Hill, where your daughter is taken by some demons of something.
Okay.
And it's like your inner demons.
Okay. Interesting
You play
twist.
it's basically her father, and you have to fight your inner demons to save your daughter.
Interesting twist.
And I'm not sure about the first game, but for the second game, it looks like it's a lot of you're after to save your daughter, and I mean you see a lot of close-ups and like real quick scenes of this almost like a mutilated woman.
Okay.
So I mean I don't know if there's like a background story of like spousal abuse or if there's like something along or
That's
murder.
some heavy shit for a fucking video game, man.
You'd be surprised nowadays. I mean,
Damn.
like
They
I
got
can
dark with that.
Like, I can talk to you for hours about a game, and certain people are going to shout out for this one, but it's called Fear.
Okay.
And I might talk about that one on a later time, maybe
Sure, why not?
if I do it as a throwback or something.
Sure,
but-
why not? We do it for a reason, man.
Exactly. But for now, I'm going to save it just because we have so much to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually a pretty regular thing for video games nowadays. I mean, you have Silent Hill, Resident Evil, where they started out as you get an overview of a room, and you're a person who just wanders through the room looking for items.
Okay.
And then you leave the room and you go somewhere else to look for.
Right.
It's something like that, where games have evolved to the point where there's more of a story, there's more of a horror theme. I have noticed looking through games and movies both, we have come up with some of the most fucked up horror stories possible.
And just through games.
Even through games.
Wow.
But I mean that alone, I mean that's what I've really seen through the second game. But I mean, again, I'm not sure. Like that's not something I have jumped into. So I mean, but that's coming out on the 13th.
Oh, hey now, that's next Friday.
Yes, Friday the 13th. Go figure.
I know.
And actually, same with Friday the 13th. The game coming out on Friday the 13th.
Wouldn't you drop it then, though?
Oh God, yes.
Like, how stupid would you be? Like, we're dropping our Friday the 13th
Like,
video game
I know,
on
like-
the 14th.
Yeah. Well, but if you actually watch on YouTube, there are several gamers, like people who like gamers who have like 5+ million subscribers who have actually already played Friday the 13th, the game.
I'm going to check that out. I'm actually going to look at that because that looks pretty fucking interesting.
they've been playing a beta, I guess, or something. But and then something you will actually like is
Throw it
on
down.
the 17th, South Park, The Fractured Butthole.
Okay, so you got to tell me what's the premise for the fractured butthole?
It looks like it's a continuation of the Batcoon or not Batcoon.
Oh, the coon. The
The Coon. Yeah, it looks like it's a continuation of that story.
Okay.
I don't know why I said Batcoon.
What was
I've been
what was
watching too much
Butters'
Vanoss.
fucking superpower?
Butters? Which superhero was he? Wasn't he the guy who? Or no, blow bubbles? No. Why
No,
am I thinking
wasn't
of
there
that?
like fuck? There was one guy with like the most useless fucking powers. I can't fucking remember.
I know.
I can't
It's been
fuck
too
me.
long. But yeah, I'm not sure on that one. But that one comes out on the 17th.
Okay,
So there's that one.
right on.
And actually, something that is just annual at this point. I don't know how much of a fan you are of the WWE.
Nah.
Yeah, I mean it's professional wrestling. Everyone's
It's
fake.
well, I know we all know
Everyone
that. We all know
knows,
that.
yeah.
And you know what? I enjoy myself some Stone Cold Steve Austin from time to
Yes.
time. But as far as like, is that in my wheelhouse of sports that I watch?
Yeah,
No.
no.
I mean, you have to understand. I don't watch football, baseball, tennis, golf. My sport of choice is either strongman or powerlifting or even weightlifting.
American Ninja.
Oh God. Like, I mean, okay, I'm not gonna take away from it, man. It takes an incredible amount of
Oh,
skill
God, yes.
and strength and stuff to
Yeah.
do that. So I props to them.
You have to have fingertips of steel.
Right. But I just, I strength train. So that's like in my wheelhouse.
To your glutes,
And-
sir.
Yes, indeed. I mean, and through that sport, you see some pretty badass shit. Like
Yes.
like Ray Williams, he's an
Yes.
international powerlifter.
Yes.
Ray Williams, he squatted 1,035 in just a belt and knee sleeves, no
Good
wraps
Lord.
or anything like that. It's 1,035.
I would shit myself trying to lift that.
Dude, I'd die. I'd fucking die. Like I'm very realistic about where I'm going with the strength training thing. Like
Yeah.
I know if I ever touch a 700-pound squat, that will be something. It might not happen. It's not likely in the cards, let alone 1,000 pounds.
It's something that'll give you a
Right.
boner.
And then you got guys like Blaine Sumner. You got to check him out. He's a single ply lifter in the IPF, which is it's a squat suit and deadlift suit and
Okay.
stuff. But it's only single ply gear, so it's okay. And he just did I think it was like last year or either last year or this year at the Arnold. He did a 505 kilogram squat,
Okay.
which is over 1,100 pounds.
Good
rep.
Lord.
Yeah.
Now, see, and I know this is gonna sound weird to you, but
Uh-huh.
the only real familiarity I have with like deadlifting and strength training and stuff like that is a WWE wrestler, because I've watched wrestling with my father since I was 3 months old.
Okay.
Like that's been a tradition where even after I moved out of the house, me and my dad would watch wrestling together and we'd text back and forth.
Right on.
But Mark Henry,
Oh yeah,
world's
yeah.
strongest man.
Yeah. He did compete in World's Strongest Man a couple times, man.
Yeah. That's my experience.
Right, and most of those wrestlers, they do train in that. They do train to an extent for strength.
Oh God, yes.
To an extent. A lot of them, they'll use that. Well, I mean, if you're basing a training program that's utilizing weights, your central lifts should be a squat, a bench, a deadlift, and an overhead press.
Yes.
That should be the meat and potatoes of your stuff. You know, and it's very common for wrestlers. They also do a lot of like bodybuilding style exercises because they got to be show ready.
Yeah.
The only guy that I don't know that utilized a whole lot of that was probably Brock Lesnar, just because he's a freak. He's a freak.
But you know what? Have you ever heard him talk?
Yeah,
It's fucking hilarious.
it is.
He has the squeakiest high pitched.
He does, but
I can
it's-
understand why he has other people do most of his talking.
Yeah, well, I mean, but you have to. That's all fine and good, but dude, when he was a UFC fighter,
Oh,
before,
God, I
before he
know.
sucked,
Oh, yeah.
before he sucked and got his shit handed to him by Cain Velasquez.
Suck a dick, Brock Lesnar.
Well, no, okay, I shouldn't say he sucked. I shouldn't say that. That's bad.
No. I take
That's
that back.
bad.
I take
That's
that back.
bad.
No.
I'm gonna retract that one. He encountered a better fighter in Cain Velasquez, but this guy, the weight limit
Yeah.
for a heavyweight in the UFC was 265 pounds. Brock would have to cut weight down. Okay, and he would probably walk into the octagon after recomping and getting his weight back because they have to dehydrate themselves. Essentially, they have to cut all that water weight to make
Yeah.
that weight. When he recomped, he's probably at a standing weight of maybe 285, 295.
Oh, yeah.
Lean.
Oh, he's a beast.
And a dude that big should not be able to clear a fucking octagon and do a fucking double leg takedown that fast. The way he moved like a welterweight. He was as fast as a anyway. We're getting way off track talking about Brock
Well,
Lesnar.
actually not, because the game the game that I'm actually talking about is WWE
Okay.
2K18.
Okay.
And it will in fact include Brock Lesnar because he is in the WWE right now.
Right.
But it's a game that they come out annually for WWE,
Right.
and it's a wrestling game. They come out once a year. I personally play the shit out of 2K17, where Roman Reigns was on the cover, I believe, if I remember correctly. If not, Roman
Let
Reigns.
me chill out. Sorry, my dog.
We're recording a podcast.
Don't look at me like that. Sorry, my dog is creeping out. Go ahead.
But it's still relevant talking about these fighters
Right,
and everything
right.
because this year I honestly have to say they change it up every year for the WWE
Right.
games. Like I remember playing, what was it, 2004? I remember playing one of the 2000 games and it was fucking awesome. And then like I played the next year's game and it fucking sucked.
Really?
Because they change, like they have certain mechanics where you can counter moves.
Right.
And I remember in the game that I like to play, it's because anytime they make a move towards you, you could have countered it. But in the new game, like in the year later, they changed it to where if you fail to counter that one move, they can continue for like say you're down, if they go to like kick you, if you fail to counter that kick, like you don't have a chance to counter the next 20 fucking kicks.
Okay, I got
And that pissed me off.
Oh.
But and I'm playing 2K17 now, and they found a balance with it. They really did. Where it's usually like every 3 kicks that you'd get the chance to counter something.
Okay, yeah.
And that's so much more balanced because I would play my stepbrother. And he's younger than me, and I played these games. And I mean, I'd play Undertaker, he'd play someone else like Mark Henry or Big Show, and I'd be stomping his ass in. But the moment he got me down, he'd just start kicking me. Oh, okay. He would stomp on me until
just hit the same button.
Exactly.
That's how I do it, motherfucker.
It's like fucking playing Mortal Kombat with someone.
That's me,
sucks.
motherfucker. Don't play with me. I'll just hit that same button. I'll just keep like fucking punch you in the face over and over again.
I hate you. That's why I like playing games like Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe because a comment my dad always gave me was, if you give me a move list of what these people can do, I will memorize it in 30 seconds and I will use it to wreck your shit. Like,
speaking of DC and
Mortal
Kombat, they're bringing Raiden into Injustice 2.
Oh wow!
They threw Raiden in there.
That's kind of a tip of the hat there to Mortal Kombat versus DC.
Exactly.
I like that.
Exactly.
I like that. But anyway, so WWE 2K18 is coming out on the 17th as well. Okay. A lot of these games are coming out on the 17th this year.
Seems to be a good date for it.
And then we have something that, and I mean, this is kind of sad. I mean, I'm not saying I was disappointed with it, but for the E3 of this year, one of the most anticipated games that they had this year was the Super Mario game.
Okay.
It was another Mario game. And I mean, I'm not talking down on Mario or anything like that, but Super Mario Odyssey comes out on the 27th.
Okay.
And this one, I mean, it looks like a typical Mario game.
Okay.
But I mean, with this one, they might make a few changes on it, but it's still the same basic platformer.
Right. Well,
I mean, it's Mario.
As far as I'm concerned,
I mean,
as far as I'm concerned, no 2D, not for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why fix something when it ain't broken?
Damn straight.
But one of the thing that disappoints me about E3 this year is one of the most looked after games this year that they presented for E3 was Mario and the Rabbids. You know, they came out with a game a few years ago called Rayman Raving Rabbids. And it's basically Rayman beating the shit out of these animated rabbits.
Okay.
And ever since that game came out, they found out, people like these rabbits. And so they've literally just been taking games and pairing them with the rabbits.
Like Porgs.
Yeah.
It's like the Porgs.
Yeah.
Okay.
But literally in like...
By the way, I think fucking Porgs are adorable.
But one of the most looked after games for E3 this year was a Mario game with rabbits.
Okay.
And it's literally like it's a turn-based strategy game, basically.
Okay.
Where you fight, I think, Shy Guys? Or like whatever bad guys they decided to throw into this Mario game.
Okay.
That's the thing. I mean, that was the most sought-after game. So, I mean, this E3 was kind of disappointing.
Well, that might have been more nostalgia than anything else.
Yeah, more or less. And then, there's a good one also coming out on the 27th. It's Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus.
Okay.
Wolfenstein.
Okay, I remember playing that on the PC.
Yeah.
I remember.
Which one did you play? The first
Probably
one?
the first one, yeah.
Where, let's see, the first one was they basically redid D-Day.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Well, they're finally coming out with a sequel to the second one.
Okay.
Like, where everyone liked the second one more than anything else because, I mean, it was something new.
Right.
I mean, you got Nazis with Tesla technology, where you have mechanized dogs coming after you.
You're not talking about the car company. You're talking about Nikolai Tesla.
Yeah.
Okay.
The electrician.
Wow. That's a terrifying thought.
I know,
That's
right?
a fucking terrifying thought.
Literally, I think one of the opening scenes to the second Wolfenstein game, if I remember correctly, is a mechanized Tesla powered dog. With
That's
metal
fucking
jaws
terrifying.
Coming after you and the guys. Like your plane crashes and you've got a dog who's digging through the wreck and killing off the rest of your squad. And you literally have to get on the Gatling gun for this plane and shoot one.
That's fucking
to
terrifying.
destroy it. These things are indestructible by normal means.
So what are they upping the ante in this new Wolfenstein?
It's tough to say. They really haven't come out with too much for it yet.
Okay, so they're not.
They're playing it closer to the belt. It's coming out on the 27th, but I haven't. You really sir. This is one of those games where you even the original Wolfenstein. You really had to pay close attention to what was coming out in gaming in general.
Okay.
In order for you to really know, because they're not paying a whole lot for advertisements. They are releasing these games kind of, I don't want to say they are like cult classics, but it's one of those games where you really have to pay attention.
Okay.
So that's coming out on the 27th, and also on the 27th, Assassin's Creed Origins.
Are they doing
It's a prequel, it seems.
Oh, well,
Again, one of those games that's not really heavily advertised.
Yeah, but I mean, where else to go except a prequel now?
I know,
right? They've done like everything else.
They've made a movie that is already on sale for $12 at Walmart, by the way.
Poor Michael Fassbender and his enormous member. No, that man is gifted.
How would you know?
He did. He hung dong in a movie, dude. I don't remember what movie, but he hung dong.
I want to ask what movie, but at the same time, I
don't
wanna
remember.
know what
but
movie.
I know he hung dong, and he's let's just say hashtag blessed. So,
but again, not knowing a whole lot what's going on with this one. But I mean, in the cover, it looks awesome because you get like a day and night view of Egypt. And, like, the pyramid is directly in the middle. Half the pyramid is in daylight, half the pyramid is at night.
So they're going fucking Bronze Age with it.
It seems.
Okay.
But, I mean, that's really all worth mentioning what's coming out this month. I mean, other than that, I mean, they're coming out with another Just Dance, which I'm not too worried about.
I'm going to buy it. I'll be first one in line. I fucking love to dance. I have been known to cut a little rug in my day.
Oh, God damn it, no.
Okay, so we'll move on then. Next thing up in the news, I want to talk about this because this is pretty fucking fascinating. The news broke about DC doing and Warner Brothers doing a Joker origin film. Okay, now see on the face of this, when they say, "Oh, we're gonna do a Joker origin film," it's like, all right. Then they fucking drop the bomb that, oh yeah, Martin fucking Scorsese is gonna fucking produce it. Okay, so he's going to produce a Joker origin movie, and then, of course, there's the drama with Jared Leto not being involved because they're going to do this outside of the DCEU continuum, which is cool. That is their right to do it. And you know what? I'm going to give this a chance just because it's Martin Scorsese.
That's true. That's true.
And I know that in comics, the Joker has many different origins.
Oh, God, yes.
So they have a lot of room to explore here.
Yeah.
And, and that's going to be interesting. And then there's the rumor that DiCaprio, fucking Leo, might be in talks to play the Joker.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm down. I'm down because I just fucking heard the news a couple days ago that Leo is going to do a movie about Theodore Roosevelt. Probably one of my favorite fucking.
That would be fucking cool.
That is one of my favorite.
I can see him as Roosevelt.
Ooh, yes, because Roosevelt is one of my favorite figures in American history.
Oh God, yes.
Because he was a moralist.
Yes.
For all of his faults, he was a moralist, and just an enigmatic figure in every sense of the word. I mean, the dude was a titan among men, and to see a movie made about him, I think it's about fucking time.
Other than Night at the Museum.
Well, yeah. Hey, Robin Williams did a fucking amazing job.
I'm not taking anything away
from
Robin
but
Williams.
That was not about Roosevelt. It was more of a caricature of Roosevelt than it was anything else.
Which was just fucking amazing. Still.
Right. So, given that, I'm down. If DiCaprio is going to play the Joker, I'm fucking down.
I know.
And I'm totally cool with this being outside of the DCEU. What are your thoughts?
See, that's the bad thing. Like, I can't see the guy who was "Don't Let Go, Rose."
Okay.
Playing.
You're
someone
clinging to the old Leo, man.
But see, that's the bad thing. Is like, I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, especially from you. I have not really seen a whole lot of recent Leonardo DiCaprio movies.
That was my jaw hitting the floor, Brad.
I know. Like, I haven't seen Django Unchained.
You need to.
I haven't seen Inception.
Yeah, you need to. I'll give that. It's Christopher Nolan. I'll give it to you.
I mean, but that's the thing. Like, I haven't seen recent DiCaprio, but I know in general he's an amazing actor.
Very much.
I know he can play any role he really sets his mind to.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, it's hard to see "Don't Let Go, Rose" play. You know why I use a knife?
Okay. Well, hopefully hopefully it will not be just a rehash of Heath Ledger.
Well, I know, and I mean,
You know.
I honestly, and I know, I never want to see a rehash of Heath Ledger just because
Right.
Heath Ledger did it so fucking well.
Damn right.
But I can't imagine, and even I'll even give some props to Jared Leto.
Yeah.
And I know he's not going to play this role or anything like
Yeah.
that. So far they haven't decided, I guess. But I just, even with like a Jared Leto Joker,
Right.
I don't see. I can't imagine what Leonardo would bring to a Joker role.
Right. And I think that what is cool about this is that Leto, I don't have like a fully hashed out opinion on his Joker just because I don't think we've seen enough.
Oh yeah, no,
You know,
mean,
and I think
when
they left a lot on the cutting room floor with
when
Suicide Squad.
You saw him for like what, 10 minutes.
Well,
max
there was an
in
entire
Suicide Squad.
They left a lot of footage on the cutting room floor of Jared Leto's Joker. So I don't think
know they cut out a lot.
we don't know a whole lot about him, man. We don't know why he has the fake teeth. We don't know what the story is behind the tattoos, other than David Ayer likes characters with tattoos.
Well, but see, I don't remember where I heard this. I think it was either you or someone else, but it was explained to me the reason why Leto's Joker has the grill is because this is the same universe with the Justice League Batman with Batfleck, where Batman's had enough fucking shit. He's
True.
He's done. And
True.
like
Batfleck don't give a fuck.
Exactly. I heard he got the grill because he had a confrontation with Batman where Batman knocked out his teeth.
See, I wonder if that was Batman's retaliation for him killing Jason Todd.
That's right, because he killed Jason Todd in this universe.
That has been confirmed that was Jason Todd's Robin costume.
That's right.
So because they've already said they're doing a Nightwing movie, so there's obviously a Dick Grayson.
Yes. Yeah.
So
he's already into his.
So I'm wondering if that
Robin at least.
I wonder if that grill was
Batman knocking his
yeah
teeth
that was
out.
like Batman nearly killing him for killing Jason Todd.
And see, that would follow. The
That would be
comics
cool.
very
That would be
well.
cool, but we don't know any of that yet.
I know.
So, but the cool thing is that
But maybe
Jared,
I mean, if they do kind of reach a middle ground where Jared Leto plays Joker, and they do include this Joker movie in the actual MCU,
right?
Maybe at that point, they'll answer that question.
Maybe. I mean, the cool thing is that even if they do this with another actor and it's outside of the DCEU, Leto still has a lot of films left to go to flush out this character.
Yes.
You know, but this also brings into question, like, what the fuck is going on with Batfleck?
I saw it today, and it was only just today. I saw that they are talking about Ben Affleck having to go back to rehab.
Okay. Well, I mean,
So
that's
that-
all for the good, though. I mean, if he needs to go back to rehab, then
I
he's
realize
gotta
it's
work
for the
some shit
good, but
out.
at the same time, it's like that might explain the rumors behind him only
wanting
like
wanting to step away from the Batman after Justice League.
Exactly.
Right, because I mean, there was that drama with the movie, the Batman, that they were going to
Mm-hmm.
do. He was supposed to write and direct, then he wasn't going to direct, and he wasn't going to write, and then there were rumors that he wasn't even going to be in it.
Yeah.
And and all in all, man, I fucking love Batfleck.
Oh yeah,
I
no.
fucking love
I say
Batfleck.
for the roles that they gave him, where it's Batman versus Superman, where it's the edgier Batman who's had enough shit.
Well, yeah,
who brands criminals and
does
goes
not give a fuck.
and busts into warehouses with a couple of
That is,
machine guns.
dude, can I talk about that scene for a second? Can I
Yeah.
just fucking
Go ahead.
That fucking scene is. It was like the gameplay from the Arkham movies or the Arkham games was transposed onto a film. It was so beautifully choreographed in the most brutal way.
Oh,
like
yeah.
what I loved about like the Nolan Batman, the way he fought, it was very brutal. He
Yeah.
was breaking bones, he was snapping cartilage. They took it up a notch with Batfleck. He straight up fucking flung a crate at a dude's head, and you see the splatter on the back of the wall, and to that point, I love what they did with Batfleck. I know I'm probably gonna catch some shit, but I don't fucking care because I don't give a fuck about your opinions because this is my show.
You'll hear about it in the comments on
I
YouTube.
fucking love how they portrayed this guy. Not only he's been doing this for 20 years, and not only that, after 20 years of doing this job, he sees like half a fucking city destroyed by two beings, and at that point, he gives no fucks.
Yeah.
He's become a fatalist. He's like, this is we have to ratchet this up, and I'm gonna do what it
We
takes.
have to escalate in order to match this.
Exactly. And you see him abandon his moral code.
Yeah.
In Batman v Superman, he has zero fucking compunctions about murking somebody. Zero. And I know a lot of people were like, "That's not Batman," because all we saw for the previous Batman films was Batman strictly adhering to that code in which he will not take life. That's what I love about how
But
they
at
do
the
it.
same time, it's because just about every Batman movie before this was an origin story.
Right.
Where he was fresh off of his parents dying. He was
And,
fresh off of training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that part that that this is a grizzled, experienced Batman.
Oh, yeah.
And this does open the door for a lot of different stories. They can bring in
God,
Damian
yes.
Wayne.
Yes.
Damian Wayne. They need to bring that character into the DCEU. That's a discussion for another time.
Yes.
So I personally fucking hope that Ben Affleck gets his shit together.
Yes.
Gets it all together, puts it in a backpack so it's together, and continues playing the Batman.
Gets their shit together, can put it in a backpack. Cause
Exactly.
That's what their
And
shit
if he's
needs
got to
be.
take it somewhere, take it to the shit store or the shit museum. I want him to continue as Batman. If they had to recast,
Ooh,
okay,
Morty.
good man. If they had to recast, I'll be okay with it. I'll fucking be okay with it. We gotta go, Morty. I'll be okay with it. I would, because the show will go on and the story will continue, and I'm cool with that. But I don't want them to.
I know.
I want Batfleck to stay.
I like. It's definitely something different. It's
Right.
not what you see. It's not the Boy Scout Batman that
Right.
other like heroes and supervillains
Right.
make fun of in like all the animated shows and shit.
Right.
It's literally the Batman who has seen the darkness. He's had his back broken. He's tired of the shit.
Yeah, he don't give a fuck no more.
Exactly. His moral code has finally been broken to the point where he goes, you know what?
Right.
They really don't deserve this mercy.
Right. But then that's the cool thing is because at the end of the movie they see him walk it back.
Yeah.
And they see him kind of regain his
Well, but-
his code again. He reaffirms himself.
Well, but you know what? If you read the comics, no matter what version of Batman they do, after the death of Robin, that second Robin,
Right.
every Batman has to walk through that.
Yeah.
No matter what they've done, every Batman takes it that hard and escalates, whether it's beating the shit out of Joker, whether or not it's actually going through and killing Bane. Mm-hmm. They've had this version go through several times where
Right.
this Batman has to go just lose his moral code, and then he has to go through that path to remember why he does this,
Right.
to remember his parents, and to pull his head out of his ass, more or less.
And that's what I like about what they're going with the DCEU because with Wonder Woman, with Diana,
Yes.
there's a perfect example of what a hero's moral code should be.
Yes.
And so Bruce Wayne, Batfleck, now has her as an example
Mm-hmm.
to help show him, okay, this is what the League is going to stand for, and this is what we're going to do.
Yes.
I'm digging that.
Yes.
Next little bit of news. What is the update at the League of Legends gaming tournament extraordinaire?
I know. Last episode I mentioned that they do tournaments for League of Legends, and it was actually very well timed because they've just, like when we did that episode, they had just started the Worlds.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of teams, repeat teams, that
Okay.
you always see, veterans of Worlds. Because, before you can get to Worlds, you do have to climb to the top of the ladders of your region's tournaments.
Okay, so there's qualifiers.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you see teams from the EU, from like the European teams. A very veteran team called Fnatic, who has seen several world tournaments, who has climbed a ladder several times. And then you get, right now, they're holding the Worlds in China right now. And
Okay.
the home team is Team WE. I know people are like, that spells out we. What they call themselves is Team WE.
Okay.
Can't control
I
that
won't
one.
make that mistake now.
Exactly. They're the home team right now.
Okay.
So anytime you see a League of Legends Worlds broadcast, anytime you see a fan in the audience, they're usually going to be holding out a Team WE sign.
Okay.
And they recently started the second phase of groups,
Okay.
which is basically when they do groups, it's the tournament, like tournament ladder, where you eliminate people who are at the bottom of the ladder, and the top certain sets are the ones who move on to something called the elimination phase.
Okay.
And for groups, I think it's the usual 5v5. It's the teams versus teams.
Right on.
But I think they only do one match at a time. I haven't been paying too much attention to the groups. What I like is the elimination phase, where the last section of players or of teams who want to be in the next set of group phases is they fight each other. Like, it's the bottom of the ladder, but at the same time, that's usually when you see the desperation moves, when you see the best of people's fucking games. Because everyone has a different play style. That's the beauty about this game, is that you have champions who have certain skills, certain roles and everything.
Right.
But even those roles, even those skill sets only take you so far, where the player themselves have to build items on this character to make them as best as they can. They have to make plays. They have to take opportunities. Everything circulates. Like, for instance, this last set of eliminations, there was a team who was down to their last 2 towers, which is basically you have to work your way through the towers. Then you get to the inhibitors, which is what spawns something called super minions, which are these minions that are as strong as a regular champion, almost. Then you have 2 more towers to work through. Then after those 2 towers are gone, you get to the enemy nexus, which is what causes them to spawn, I guess, is the storyline to it. But once that's destroyed, you win the game. There was a team who was down by 6 turrets. And then they had like 2 out of their 3 inhibitors destroyed. They made 2 plays. 2 big plays.
2 big plays.
That got them the momentum to take the other enemy's towers, inhibitors, then they got to the Nexus. And they won the game.
Wow.
Like, there was, at minute like 20 in this match, you figured they were not going to win. Finally, they got to like minute 26, and they had won the game with just 2 plays.
So they had to
pull their shit together.
Oh, wow.
Like, they had to do some serious
searching. So there's some drama there, huh?
Oh God, yes.
Okay.
And you always see certain teams that are that are better at certain aspects. Like, they're Team Fnatic, which I mentioned earlier, from the UE.
The EU.
EU. Sorry. From the EU, they have been appraised for their team fighting. Like, no matter what they do in like the lane phase, which is the opening where you're basically trying to kill minions, get gold, get your items up, and position yourself for a win. They've been appraised for their team fights, where they are such experts at their 5 versus 5 fights that no matter how far back in the game that they will take a 5v5 fight, win, and immediately push up to whatever lane they need to and take the win. Like, they're very much team fighters. They are experts at positioning themselves. Then you have other teams who are experts in like the beginning game, where their whole hope on winning is to take the entire beginning part of the game to the point where they get enough ahead where the other team has no hope of catching up. And they basically just keep that advantage through the end of the game. It's certain things. Certain teams have certain strategies. Certain players are better at certain champions.
And each team has to address that strategy.
Exactly. They have to complement each other. They have to work together. But you see a lot of eliminations right now. They recently, the 5th. The 5th was the first day of their second group matches, the second phase of groups. After the second phase of groups, they'll do another elimination, which will technically be the quarterfinals. So they're whittling down the bracket right now.
How long does the tournament last?
Oh God, I think it only maybe lasts a month or so.
Oh really?
Because literally, it's one day they will fit us like 6 or 7 matches in. And then that's for groups. When they do the elimination rounds, it's literally the best of 5, and they do 4 matches per day. Well, not 4 matches, but they do like 14. Like, they do like the 5 games, the best of 5 games. They'll do 4 of those in a day. So, and then like after, in between each phase, like for the first phase of group 1s, there's maybe a week before they do the first phase of eliminations. Once the first phase of eliminations were done, they do the second phase of group phase. After this, they'll maybe wait a week or so, and then they'll do the second thing of eliminations. But so far, you see, for groups as official on October 7th,
Okay.
You have Team WE, which actually took a loss, the home team,
Really?
for where they're holding the World Championship. They took a loss to Team TSM.
What's TSM? We don't have to get that idiosyncratic. I saw the look you gave me.
I'm not sure what they actually
Okay,
stand
no worries,
for,
no
but
worries. I was just curious.
That's the thing. Like they do the abbreviations, but
Okay.
it's Team TSM. And then you see teams like Cloud9, which is, I believe it's an American team.
Okay.
But like this an American team was like one of the veterans. They've taken home world championships.
Okay.
So
this is familiar territory.
Oh yeah. Like they actually do have a victory right now from groups.
Okay.
And again, this is right now, tomorrow is the 4th day of the second group phase.
Okay.
So after this, it's going to be about a week or so, and then they're going to do the second thing of eliminations.
Okay.
So far, I mean, we'll see how it goes.
Right on. Okay. Well, the next thing we're going to talk about here is something that blew my pants right off. I mean, this was an amazing. The latest issues of Darth Vader from Marvel. The whole premise of the story, Brad, is that this was about how Vader constructed his lightsaber.
Yes.
Because, as we all know, Obi-Wan jacked his lightsaber and then falsely claimed, like, your father wanted you to have this.
You were the chosen one.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I love that scene. That scene breaks my fucking heart every time.
On Mustafar.
Yeah, dude, it just takes my feels and it churns them all up.
I don't know. After the acting job he did for Anakin, I kind of enjoyed the actor missing 2 legs and an arm and clawing his way up a beach of lava.
That's messed up.
Well,
So this whole series is about how he builds that lightsaber.
okay.
And so he is just fresh being put into his suit and his cybernetics and everything that's supposed to keep him alive.
Which actually poses a question. For the Star Wars universe, is Darth Vader's suit regulation for extreme burn victims, or is it just specific for Darth Vader?
We don't know. There is, like, I guess, rumor that Palpatine had that suit constructed so he would resemble the ancient Sith. Don't know.
But see, from Legends, that doesn't look anything like the original Sith.
I know. It who knows? Because because they actually did bring in the doctor that performed the procedure
In the comics?
Yeah, his name
okay.
is Dr. Silo. Vader.
He wasn't in Clone Wars.
No. This was a character they brought in for the new run of Star Wars comics.
Okay.
It's part of the new canon.
Okay.
And Vader owns the dude. Just owns the dude. Because the guy. Okay, long story short, the guy put like a kill switch. He had a kill switch for Vader's suit.
That's a very bad idea.
So as Vader is about to confront him and fucking own his ass, because the doctor had designed a bunch of other like androids, I guess, that were supposed to take Vader's place. So Vader, Vader waded through them and shit, and then he tries to go kill the doctor, and the doctor fucking pulls out a kill switch and just shuts down Vader's suit. But Vader, being the badass that he is, channels the dark side and kills the guy anyway.
Yeah, because Lord knows that he couldn't pull that off as Anakin.
Right. So, but this comic actually begins to show you how Anakin became the Vader we know
From the movies.
in the movies.
That'd be
So
cool.
it starts to tell him, because in the comics he has to go find a kyber crystal. He needs a kyber crystal to bleed it and make it his own. So he finds a Jedi. The Emperor sends him to go kill a Jedi that had taken something called a Barash vow. This is going to be crucial, I think.
I know that. You know what? I know what that is from Legends.
Okay, so the Barash vow, for our listeners that may not know, it's when a Jedi takes the Barash vow, he goes into exile. He willingly puts himself into exile until he corrects the thing that made him take the vow. So this particular Jedi in this comic, I don't have his name right in front of me, so I apologize, but he takes the Barash vow because he was too warlike. He enjoyed combat too much for a Jedi.
He was too much like Anakin.
Even to a greater extent.
Really?
He was all about lightsaber combat and violence. He enjoyed it too much.
Sounds like some of the Jedi you fight in Force Unleashed.
Right. So he takes the Barash vow until he can correct this, and Vader tracks him down. And dude, this Jedi owns Vader. nearly kills him because they get into a fight with this Jedi, because this Jedi has his lightsaber, and that's what Vader wants. So they get into a fight with this Jedi having his lightsaber and Vader having a training lightsaber. And Vader gets owned. He gets owned. He gets owned. He gets, like, literally thrown off a cliff. That Jedi Master throws him off a cliff because the Jedi Master thinks that by besting Vader and defeating Vader, that is his final trial before he can reassert himself.
Okay.
And this guy wants, his ultimate plans is to go back and fight the Empire. But he doesn't kill Vader. Vader survives. And what Vader does is he tracks this guy down and he defeats him by exploiting his compassion. So they're fighting on top of a dam. And Vader essentially is threatening to breach the dam and kill all these civilians down there below to try to defeat this Jedi Master.
Classic Vader.
Right. This is what you see later on. This is the Vader you get to know.
Yeah.
And he eventually defeats the Jedi Master. You know what he does? He breaches the dam anyway. He kills all those people anyway because he's Vader, right? So now he's got his lightsaber, and you just
got to be that hard ass.
right. And you just read this issue.
Yeah.
He then takes this lightsaber and he goes to Mustafar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to an area which will later be the area of his castle that you see in Rogue One.
Yes.
And he goes into a cave that is heavily immersed in the dark side. The planet Mustafar actually has greater significance to the dark side than we were originally led to know in Episode 3.
They actually do explain. They touch on that one in Knights of the Old Republic,
Yeah.
where you play as the original Jedi turned Sith, turned back
Right.
to Jedi as Master Revan.
Right. So kind of like how Ilum in the canon is where the Jedis go to get their kyber crystals.
Yes.
This planet Mustafar is a nexus for the dark side. That
Yes.
cave that Vader goes in is a nexus for the dark side.
Go
He
figure. The lava planet is the nexus for the dark
Right.
side.
So what he does is he places his kyber crystal on this altar that he took from this Jedi.
Yes.
And in attempting to bleed it, because the kyber crystal is a living entity,
Mm-hmm.
it fights back. It resists trying to be bled, and it shows
Doesn't
Vader.
it fuck him? If I remember correctly from the issue, doesn't it fuck him up more than the Jedi did?
It throws him against a wall. And what's awesome is you have this beautiful fucking panel where you see the broken visor. He has a
Yeah.
broken eyeglass, and you see his eyes go back to
See
blue.
his fucked up face.
To like a green or blue eyes. He has Anakin's eyes again.
Yes.
And that's the kyber crystal tempting him with the light side and showing him a vision of what he would do if he renounced the dark side. And in that vision, he goes straight to Palpatine's office and kills him.
Yeah.
He kills Palpatine. And then they have this beautiful panel that just rocketed my feels around where he goes and tracks down Obi-Wan. And he takes off his helmet and he kneels and he basically begs for forgiveness from Obi-Wan. And you see Obi-Wan just deactivate his lightsaber. And it's a beautiful panel.
It is.
It's a beautiful panel.
I
But then he snaps right back.
Yep.
And you see the Sith eyes again, and he denies that temptation of the light side. And then you actually get to see what the process of bleeding a crystal is like. In the Ahsoka novelizations, you get it. They describe what Ahsoka had to do to heal a kyber crystal and give her the white blades. But you actually get to see them bleed it. And then he, of course, he goes to the Emperor and he presents his lightsaber. And there's it's an amazing issue, and there's more to come that I need to catch up on.
Now, if I remember in the comic, didn't they show part like it was like a hologram or something, like a holocall? Wasn't that Rey in there or something?
No,
Or maybe like a younger Rey or like
No,
a younger
'cause-
Leia. There was some girl, I forget why.
I don't remember that part. But Rey wouldn't even been.
Well, yeah,
born
I
yet.
know. I'm just like that's what it looked like because it was a girl who looked almost like Rey with a ponytail. I mean, it's just hard
I'd have
to
to
tell.
look at that again. I have to look at that again.
Like it was almost like a foreshadowing event.
I'd have to look at that again. Maybe I didn't look at it that good. So, but then Brad, you want to talk about The Gifted?
Yes.
So tell me about The Gifted because this has my attention.
The trailers they've released are hard to interpret,
Okay.
but if you look them up, it's like it's an X-Men miniseries.
Okay.
But they don't focus on like Wolverine. They don't focus on Storm
So
or
it's not the
Cyclops.
traditional
It's
X-Men.
not the traditional X-Men.
But mutants in general.
It's mutants in general. It's
Okay.
that universe, but it seems like instead of going to Xavier's school for gifted children, it seems like it's a couple of mutant siblings trying to survive in the world.
Okay.
And I mean, they're going to a regular school because you like part of the trailer is you see the boy being bullied and they like throw him in the shower or something.
Uh-huh.
They don't do anything else to him. They just throw him in a shower. But you see him soaking wet. You see him sit on the ground. You see him scream, and you see all the shit just collapse on itself.
Wow.
and then like it's the Gifted.
That's badass.
It is like
That's
you
badass.
don't see anything that the girl does, but you do see the boy flip his fucking gourd.
That's fucking cool. Like, does it tie into the overall X-verse?
It might. I haven't seen any confirmation or rejection for that one.
We should look into that, man.
Yeah,
Because that'd be cool.
That'd be something to touch on later.
That'd be badass. I'm excited. I'm excited for that.
I believe it's coming to Netflix.
I'm excited.
If not, it's
Is it?
on like FX or something.
Oh, fucking A, because I'm excited for that. Because I likes me some more X-Men material.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this is something that I got to talk about because we talked about something about it, like something close to it last episode when I talked about Terminator Salvation. Brad, they're making another fucking Terminator.
Yeah, it's the last one though.
And it's fucking James Cameron, Tim Miller, Arnie's coming back. But they got Linda Hamilton to come back as Sarah
They got
Connor.
Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton is
Oh
coming
my
back
God,
to Terminator.
she's still alive.
Yeah, dude, you. I'm so fucking excited for this.
Well, of
I'm
course,
so
if Arnold's
fucking
still
excited.
alive, then Linda Hamilton can still be alive. I can understand that.
I'm so fucking excited for this. I am so fucking ready for this because you got Linda Hamilton coming back, Arnold, and this is going to close it out. Come on.
I know.
The only way that they could make this more like exciting for me is like, hey man, guess what? Edward Furlong's coming back. That would be. I don't know if I would be like all about that, just because.
But just something to tie a nice bow on it.
But yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. So I'm excited for this because I don't know. There's literally like no information about what direction they're going. They have a really good cast of writers aboard, but the fact that James Cameron is going to produce this gives me a lot of hope. It's like, all right, man, we're in good hands. We're in good fucking hands. And I'm just really curious what they're going to do with Arnold. I'm very curious with that. I know there was like a rumor that you would see Arnold as the human basis for what the T-800 would become.
Okay.
You know, they kind of did something like that in a
What they did kind of like in the first one.
Well, and they didn't in it was like T3. There was a cut scene where they show the human basis for what the T-800 would become. He was a army sergeant named Sergeant Candy, and it was Arnold Schwarzenegger with an overdubbed voice. Hi, I'm Sergeant Candy.
I was about to say, isn't that?
Yeah, it was a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah.
It was a joke cut scene.
I forget what other movie. It was Conan the Barbarian where they had to dub him because he didn't.
No, that was Hercules in New York.
Was it Hercules?
Yeah,
in New York?
that was his first movie. His accent was so atrocious that they overdubbed him.
Instead of doing sub.
Yeah, all they did in
thing.
Conan was just give him less lines to say.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was in like the first Terminator. He had less than 100 lines in that movie. You know.
That sounds just about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? What made that movie though was not the lines. It was the way he acted. It's like the little nuances he does. Like for example, watch the movie again. Watch Terminator 1 again, and then whenever he's driving around or he's just looking around, watch what he does. Is he moves his eyes first and then moves his head. He'll move his eyes and then move his head.
I've actually noticed that in other things other
Right.
than Terminator.
Right. So what the logic behind that was this was Arnold's idea that he would be scanning like that, like a machine scanning. So he'd move his eyes and then the head would follow. He'd move his eyes and then the head. It's those little nuances that made that movie. So I'm fucking excited, dude, because that means in my lifetime I've had T2, T3, T4. T5, and now I'm getting fucking T6 in my lifetime. I'm a happy motherfucker.
So
this totally validates my decision to get a Terminator tattoo.
But you know what? So long as they don't make the same mistakes that they did with Prometheus 2. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean Aliens Covenant.
Oh, shots fired. Okay, so Brad, tell me about this. Marvel is bringing back the Wolverine.
Yes.
In their Marvel Legacy series.
And that's the thing. Like, if you look at the cover for this,
okay,
it's literally Wolverine and X-23.
Because she's been the only one around.
Yes.
Yeah, Wolverine
it's
had
been Logan.
died.
It's Logan and X-23 both wearing the Wolverine costume together, charging at the same target.
Yes, give me more. Give me more.
More
of that, less of everything else.
From what I've seen so far, it's basically a person of interest.
Okay.
Has brought Wolverine back to life somehow.
Okay.
They don't touch on why. They don't touch on how.
Yeah.
But all you know is someone has brought Wolverine back to life for some agenda. And he kind of picks himself up and is like, okay, why am I back? Well, figuring out what the hell's going on. And like he would normally do at this point in the story, because before, when you first see Wolverine introduced to like when you first see him introduced to the idea of Xavier School for the Gifted, he's not too into it. He's more still kind of being that loner. But towards the end, you see him actually accept it, and you see him working towards it.
Right.
But like what the later Wolverine would do, he goes back to the school to try and figure out, why am I still alive?
Okay.
I thought I died for this shit to
Right.
stop. Like, I wanted to die.
That's some compelling shit. That's some compelling shit. I like that. I'm fucking down for that.
I know.
So
I'm
gonna
excited.
So we're gonna have to head over to our spot over at Gravity Damage Comics
Yes.
in San Antonio, Texas, the shopping center at Babcock and Heapner. Listeners, if you're in the San Antonio area, please go check out Gravity Damage. That store is amazing. We're going to have to go there, hit that up, and buy some of these comics.
I know.
Okay, so moving on. We need to talk about the Punisher trailer, Brad.
Oh,
We need to talk about the trailer for the Punisher coming to Netflix.
yes. It's been a while, because I've talked to you about this before, but for, like, I love the original, like, well, not the original, but, like, the first Punisher movie they made.
With Thomas Jane?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where, he had that vendetta.
Uh-huh.
He had the whole, it's not vengeance, it's punishment.
Right.
He had that drive.
Right.
Whereas with the second one they made, War Machine, Warzone, they almost interpreted Punisher as just a straight psychopath.
Right.
Who just wants to kill people.
Right.
That's what I liked about that first one. And then you have that beautiful fucking scene where 7,000 degree Mick, enough to turn steel into butter.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't science fun, Mick?
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love that scene.
What I love what they did with Netflix, with the Netflix series with Punisher, is they're bringing in the question of the moral ambiguity of what he's doing.
Well,
like,
and see, that's what I like, because in the Daredevil series, he started off as that Warzone Punisher,
like
where he was a straight
that's
sociopath.
Like that's like the perception is that he's just a sociopath.
Yeah.
Like everyone, because it takes a couple episodes into the series before they start to figure out, like, this is why he's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Up until that point, and what I love what John Barenthal did is he played the part.
Oh,
like
God,
he
yeah.
wasn't the entire thing. Whenever someone was questioning his character as the Punisher, and they were questioning him and trying to figure out, he wasn't playing anything other than the fact that I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna kill him.
I think that's actually a line he says.
Yeah, yeah, I love how he did that. How he didn't sit there and try to justify what he was doing.
No, he's like, I'm killing people.
Right.
What the fuck you have a problem
Right,
with?
exactly. And the way they fleshed that character out was beautifully done. And I'm really excited for what this Punisher series is going to bring, because I want more of that. I want more of the conflict between what he's doing and what normal people are helping him do.
Exactly, because it almost seems like, because again, at the start of that Daredevil series, they made him off as that psychopath who just wants to kill people. Mm-hmm. By the end of it, he almost seemed to kind of have that epiphany where he's like, okay, there's a different way to do this without absolutely indiscriminately destroying everybody.
Right.
But at the same time, they keep it that balance where people who get in his fucking way are going to be indiscriminately killed.
Yes, like he doesn't give a shit. If you're either in or you're in the way with him.
Like you see that part in the trailer, it's like, I don't know anything. Oh, well, in that case,
yes, that's the fucking Punisher. And what I love about that trailer is they seamlessly integrated Metallica.
God, yes.
And they synchronized the guitar and drum beats with the gunshots.
The money.
Oh, they spent some money on getting Metallica songs.
That's Metallica.
Because I think the Metallica has only contributed its music to like one film project. That was the Paradise Lost series about the West Memphis 3. Mm-hmm. Other than that, they really don't do it that often.
No, God,
so
no.
they had to shell out some money to the boys at Metallica for that. But the way they integrated
so
was
much worth
it. So fucking awesome.
But you know what, though? When you think of a Punisher TV series or movie or anything Punisher, what band speaks more to the Punisher?
I could name a couple.
Well,
I could name a couple that'd be more fitting. Like,
but you know what?
But
for you, at the same time, it's like anything heavy metal.
Yeah.
But like what I'm thinking of is like
you need to get some fucking Cannibal Corpse in there, or fuck. What's
for the listeners,
Slayer.
just think about these band names real quick. I mean,
yeah. Okay, well, actually, any song
hippies
off
can't
of
stand Slayer,
dude, any song off of Slayer's 2001 opus "God Hates Us All" would suffice. Any one of them,
of course,
from fucking Disciple to Threshold to Warzone to Payback. Well, no, you know what? Payback. You know, listeners, Go get you some Slayer. Go listen to Payback and fucking tell me that is not a song for the Punisher.
Well, I mean,
That's all I'm gonna say. All I'm gonna say.
anything about just anything hardcore could really be for Punisher.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I'm gonna say this right now. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm gonna put this on record. Frank Castle's a metalhead. Frank Castle's a fucking metalhead.
But well, of course. I mean, but I do have to say, and disagree or agree with me on this one.
Right on.
That first Punisher movie, just that like almost Godfather-esque music that they put to it.
When he was dragging John Travolta's body away.
Yes. God, yes.
Where John Travolta was doing that little bit of exquisite acting. Like,
Well, it's John Travolta.
I know. I gotta make fun of John Travolta, man. I can't take him seriously.
But I mean, just think of, I like that classiness they kind of added to it with that one.
I think this series is not going to disappoint. I
Oh
think
God,
this
no!
series is going to be amazing.
But you know what? The actor they have playing Punisher,
John Barenthal.
yes,
John
I mean,
Barenthal.
It's very hard to find a role that he plays, even if it's because there are certain like series like I think he was on Blacklist. But series like that, like Blacklist, White Collar, just the stuff you find on like Netflix that's like 8 or so seasons. The stuff that you find him in on those where he's only in for one episode and then he either walks away or he dies. He fucking sells it.
Dude.
And
Preach.
especially on The Walking Dead.
Fucking preach.
Well, whatever show he's in for however long he's in it, he does manage to bring life to that character.
I agree entirely. So what about this? Tell me about this, Brad. Tell me about this 4K remake of Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
Because I'm not personally familiar with the original. I know you can crucify me for that one if you want, but I'm not familiar. So you got to tell me what are they doing with this 4K remake?
It seems like, I mean, of course, it's a 4K remake.
Okay.
They're updating it to the current day like video standard where, okay, this isn't 3D like with the new TVs that we have going on. It's literally the TVs that have been out for the last 2 months or so. They're making a remake for the Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
The original zombie movie.
Okay.
I mean, this is what brings us current
George
day.
A. Romero, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This is what brings us current day The Walking Dead. You've got even parodies like Shaun of the Dead.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
terrific.
Oh yeah. But I mean, the movies like that. It's what inspired 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later.
Yeah, without Night of the Living Dead, you would not have those.
Exactly.
Okay. So, didn't Romero pass away? Didn't George A. Romero pass away?
Not that I've heard.
Well,
But I mean, that might. I don't. If he passed away, it wasn't recent. I don't
let's
think.
Google this so we don't have to do an embarrassing retraction.
But I mean, it looks like when they say remake, I've seen the news for it. When they say remake, I don't know if they're going to be completely redoing it.
He did pass away as of July 16, 2017.
Oh,
so clearly he will not be involved in this remake.
No. But so I mean, but I don't know if they're just updating like all the video for it, like they have been for some certain movies,
right?
Or if they're actually gonna do a whole new remake with new cast and everything. I don't know.
I mean, that's one of those movies that I'd probably say like leave it alone because the original for the impact that it had, not only being an indie film, and a cult classic, just leave it alone. Don't touch it. Like, sure, restore it, remaster it, re-release it, make some more bones off of it. But I would probably say,
like
leave it
every
alone.
Game of the Year edition ever.
Yeah, just leave it alone. So, okay, and then I want you to tell me about Blade Runner 2049. What are your thoughts? Are you excited about this movie?
I am actually.
Okay.
And I know most people are going to be watching this, are we going to see another hooker with 3 tits? No. I'm not worried about that in the slightest bit.
I want to see 3 tits.
Well, okay, most of us at least.
If it's not broke, Brad,
don't fix it. But no, what I'm looking forward to this. I've watched the original Blade Runner.
As have I.
It's a great fucking movie.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that they brought back certain actors.
Yes, Harrison Ford.
Yes,
our curmudgeon in chief,
of course. But I mean,
that video of him directing traffic in New York is masterful.
Yes,
I love it.
But I mean,
I would love for him to yell at me in traffic. I would feel so blessed.
I don't know. You'd never understand. It's just
It's just a louder, like more amplified. I'd be all over it. That'd be a story I'd tell my
squeal
grandkids.
like a little schoolgirl.
Exactly. I'd tell that story to my grandkids. I'm going to tell you about the time Harrison Ford yelled at me.
Even then, I couldn't understand what he was saying, but
Exactly.
I knew he was yelling at me.
So, what are you most excited for about this movie?
The fact that it's an actual direct sequel.
Okay.
I mean, not direct. I mean, it's not like right after the first one.
Right.
But the fact that we now have a much older main character.
Okay.
And more shit has popped up. And of course, it's the same company that started the shit from before.
Right.
But at this point, they're looking for him. We have a problem. We need to bring him in.
And then you also have Jared Leto involved in this, and Ryan Gosling. So there's a
the pretty boys.
Well, there's an A-list cast of actors.
Oh yeah,
you know, so they got the talent behind it.
Oh yeah, which I'm very glad, because a lot of the time these old movies that they remake, no matter how good the originals were, a lot of the time they don't bring in an A-list cast to redo the remake.
Right.
But in this case, they actually managed it. I'm very excited for it.
Right. And I'm sure they had to because isn't Ridley Scott involved with it as like a producer?
I think so.
Okay. So
I think so. I believe so.
Clearly, they got the right people around it.
Oh yeah.
So when are you going to go see that?
I don't know. I mean, I can probably try and go see it when it first comes out. I can go and see it maybe a little bit after when it's like in the dollar theater.
Right.
Or then again, I mean, I can leave it in the hands of top men to let me see it at home.
Top
men.
Good pull. Good pull. Well, okay, this is going to bring us to our last little bit of news. And I'm going to talk about this because I found it to be fucking hilarious. Okay? And for a number of different reasons. So our fellas over there, our top men over at Breitbart News, posted I'm going to have to take my glasses off so I can read this. They posted an amazing article about one of the latest issues of Action Comics from DC, which is Superman's original main title.
Yes.
And there's a panel in the comic that pissed off those fellas over at Breitbart. Got them all triggered, you could say.
They're nerds. They're always triggered.
Well, no, they're not even. They're just. This triggered them. This
Okay.
got them. Okay, there's a panel in which Superman shields a group of undocumented immigrants that are protesting.
Okay.
Or no, they're not protesting. Either they're protesting or they're doing something. They're doing something, and he shields them from a gunman, a gunman wearing a American flag bandana, a worker of some sorts who fires on them.
Okay.
So Superman uses himself as a shield to save him. Now, the backstory behind this, which is actually a really good comic, the character Dr. Oz, which has been an antagonist in DC for a few years now.
A number of years, yeah.
And he is convinced that humanity does not deserve Superman. So he's going to show Superman that humanity doesn't deserve them. That humanity does not deserve him.
Yeah.
So he gives all of these people across the world the chance to make a bad choice and to bring out the worst in their behaviors. And this panel is one of them. And Superman is zipping around the world trying to stop these incidents. And one of them is these undocumented immigrants being fired upon by a angry supremacist. And Breitbart got all pissed off. The Kryptonian intervenes to stop the man from shooting the illegals for taking his job. Superman blocks the bullets from the evil white man's gun and commands him to stop this. The gunman says, "They ruined me. They stole from me." He's trying to justify his actions.
Yeah.
And Superman saying, "The only person that's responsible for the blackness in your soul is you." And this is what they called it: in an act of super socialism. Once police arrive, our social justice soups orders them to protect the illegal aliens to make sure they are safe and cared for. This latest episode should not surprise anyone. This is where it gets really fucking good. DC Comics long ago declared that Superman is no longer American. He's a citizen of the world.
Okay.
Where once the hero touted the ideals of truth, justice, and the American way, You ready for this? Like a good leftist, Superman is now a citizen of the world. Okay.
Wow.
It reaches back to a story where Superman claimed that he could no longer be an American citizen because the world's too small, too connected, which is a fair assumption.
Yeah. I mean,
so, let me see if I can find this. It's just that's the best part. They called him social justice soups. So, what I find to be hilarious about this, what I find to be fucking funny, is they missed the entire plot of the comic book. They missed the point. They're cherry picking to be outraged, right? Is that Superman himself is an undocumented immigrant.
Yeah.
He was sent here as a baby. What does that make him, Brad? That makes him a dreamer.
Makes him an alien.
He's a dreamer. he's under DACA, right? Which is hilarious because of course he would shield illegal immigrants because they're just people.
Yeah.
And he himself is one.
Well, see, and that's like this shocks me. Like this is the first time hearing about this because, like, that's honestly like the whole point of Superman that you read about growing up is because he doesn't discriminate. He protects
everybody
right from wrong.
Everybody. He's a moralist. He's like TR. He's a moralist. It's right or wrong.
Yeah. And the fact that it's like, oh,
what's funny about this is they like I said, they cherry pick because the whole point of this comic was that, and here's the big reveal: Dr. Oz was doing all of this. He was orchestrating all of this
to show Superman that humanity.
Because he is his father.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, it's Jor-El. Dr. Oz is Jor-El. He fucking survived the explosion on Krypton. He survived. It's not Marlon Brando. It's not. He survived. He fucking lived. So that's the whole point of the comic is revealing that Dr. Oz is in fact Superman's father. So which poses a whole new thing. But I thought it was adorable. I thought it was just so cute how they cherry picked a point and they got so triggered and they completely missed the point of Superman as a character.
Like honestly, that's like they give like when they were in charge of it, they gave the exact opposite of like impression of okay, like because in Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman have talked about this before, where when they talked about the Batman versus Superman, where that's the whole reason that Superman, like as part of the story, that's the whole reason Superman lands where he lands, is so his mother and father of Earth could take him in and teach him these morals, where he has the go-say. He has the moral code that he has in order to learn the right from wrong that he lives by. Right. And the fact that they're cherry picking so much where it's like, oh well, he's not going to be doing this. Right. No.
I just love how they called him social justice soups.
It's not a matter of he protects America. No, he protects people.
And let me ask you this: when did it become leftist to value human life?
They're trying to make Superman great again, Kevin.
That was pretty fucking smooth. So that's it, man. We made it. We made it through news and reviews.
That's on the news. Good God.
We made it through it. That's
October.
Yes, sir.
Good God.
So now we get to hit the throwbacks. John, music. All right. So I'm gonna kick this one off, man. This is Halloween themed throwbacks.
Yes.
So my throwback is the 2007 reboot of Halloween by Rob Zombie.
Oh, it's a reboot of Halloween.
Yeah, it was a reboot. It was Rob Zombie's reboot of the Halloween original movie.
If did he? Oh, I don't know if I can ask you this. If he followed the same pattern he did when he directed it? Good God, that'd be awesome.
Well, what it was awesome about it is that they spent nearly half the movie on Michael Myers as a child. And they start planting the seeds.
So they actually built up the character
more.
more.
They built up to the actual, like, I mean, the original movie, the bulk of that movie was the day
His
Halloween
childhood,
and you know, all that. So spending half the movie in his childhood, they start to sow the seeds like, okay, you start to see that this kid's a psychopath. He keeps taking in animals and then torturing them. And then he came downstairs for breakfast like, oh, my mouse died again. another mouse died, and he tries to play it off as it just died, but being that it's Michael Myers, he killed that thing, he tortured it, and he's always wearing his mask. He feels more comfortable in a mask because he has no fucking emotions, this kid. And spending half the movie, the childhood, established what came later and how they built up to that. I fucking love that movie. I can watch that movie over and over again. The sequel to it, I'll take it or leave it. But the first one, I can watch that over and over again because it's an amazing bit of writing and directing and storytelling. And then, to see Michael Myers in the institution with the interviews with the doctor was really fucking cool. They
actually did that?
They did. They showed him
That's
interviews
cool.
with the doctor. And then that's when you start to see like how invested that doctor, I'm forgetting the name, but how invested he is in Michael Myers and how he tells everyone he's a psychopath. He is the perfect psychopath. He's a perfect killing machine.
Oh, yeah.
And you see why he's so invested in that and why he's so terrified of him because you get to see the interviews and him trying to break through with Michael and basically studying the mind of a psychopath. And then, of course, one of my favorite bits is when you see his cell at the institution. He literally makes masks. He's made all these masks. All of them.
That's cool.
And then, of course, when he's still a kid and he kills everyone in his household.
Yeah.
That one's badass.
Wasn't that the one where his sister was the only one who survived?
Yes. And that's the
Yes.
premise of the character is, what is her fucking name?
I don't remember. You know how long it's been since I've seen a Michael Myers movie?
But you know what? I'm gonna once again. This is the third time I'm hitting up the Google machines. So,
But that sounds good. Like the way you describe it, it actually makes me want to watch that one.
you should, man, because
I've only seen the originals. I haven't seen Rob Zombie directs.
I mean, he did a great job with Devil's Rejects. Laurie Strode, that's what it is. Laurie Strode is in fact Michael Myers' sister, and she's the only one he actually protects because for some reason he actually cares about her. So he doesn't kill her. In fact, they find him on the steps of the house with her, and of course the mother was working, so she survived.
Yeah.
But everyone else in the house died. He even killed his sister.
Didn't he kill the mother in the second one?
I don't remember.
I think because if I remember correctly, then the second one, like it ended with the sister running outside to the cops screaming, "He's
Right.
here! He's
Right.
here!"
And I think that's better. I think that what they did, the way they actually played that one out, the actual end of the movie, the third act, was more entertaining to me than the original. And you can crucify me if you need to, but it's more.
It's the internet. Someone will.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's fine. But that was more entertaining to me than the original. It felt more high stakes. It felt more gritty.
Yeah.
And I just love that fucking movie. Like I might even watch that movie this weekend.
Well, it's the correct month to watch it.
Right. So that's my throwback. That's all I got to say about Halloween 2007. What's yours?
A movie about a character that does face a lot of criticism.
Okay.
About that is played by an actor that faces a lot of criticism a lot of the time. But it's Pitch Black.
Okay.
And a lot of people will not recognize that title.
Okay.
But this is actually the movie that gave birth to the Chronicles of Riddick's series.
Oh, okay.
I guess I could call it. But that group of movies.
I remember vaguely watching it. I'm not super familiar with it, but I do remember watching it at one point.
Well, and that's the thing. Like that's why I kind of chose this one as my throwback because it's that horror movie that inadvertently gave birth to that series. Because Riddick was not, by no means was he the like the main character of the movie. It was the survivors of the crash other than him
I remember that.
that were the main characters. And the typical plot line for it is they crash land on a planet because like most things in the future other than Star Wars, whenever you go into space travel, in order to keep yourself looking young and beautiful, you go into cryosleep.
Right.
And in this one, while everyone's in cryosleep, they pass through the tail of a comet.
Okay.
And the tail of the comet has little mini asteroids in it. And they just tear the ship a fucking sunder.
Wow.
And they crash land on an unknown planet.
Okay.
So they find a mining facility. Like they find a mining facility that's been abandoned for 22 years.
Okay.
And it's a colony. It was an old colony of miners who were like categorizing the soil, trying to figure out what they could get out of this planet. Well, they start looking into everything, and people, I think by the time they figure out that, like, what's going on, one or two people have already disappeared. And naturally, they blame the convict who has escaped during the crash,
Which would be
Richard B. Riddick.
Okay, so that'd be Vin Diesel's
Diesel's character. That beautiful bald bastard. And so, naturally, he ends up being found near where one of a body disappears, or a person, not a body, but they find him where a body disappears, and they chase after him, and they actually do apprehend him.
Okay.
Then they have him chained up in just one of the probably one of the greatest. I mean, in my opinion, it rivals the interrogation scene of the Silence of the Lambs movies.
Ooh, wow.
Where
that's a bold claim, dude.
You've got Vin Diesel's character Riddick. He is chained up in the bowels of this crash ship. And you've got him chained up. He's in half shadow. There's just a sliver of light going across the top of his head. And he's got his arms up dangling because they're not going to take any chances with this motherfucker. And you hear he's taunting the woman who goes in to ask him questions about where this body is. And he just taunts her. Like a sociopath, he taunts her about not being able to find the bodies. He taunts her about what blood tastes like, about how it has a copper taste. And he just goes on and on about this thing. And finally, she asks him, "Let me see your eyes." And this is a big thing for the Riddick character. But she just tells him, "Let me see your eyes, Riddick." And he goes, "You'll have to get a whole lot closer than that."
Oh, okay.
And so she starts walking closer to him, and he's like, "Closer. Closer." Finally, when she gets to be about 2 feet away from him, he just jumps up, stands up to his full height. And I mean, with Vin Diesel, he's a big dude. And he towers over this woman. And I mean, he's just standing over her, and he stares into her eyes, and the sliver of light is falling right across his eyes. And you see his eyes have almost like an ethereal glow to them, which they do touch on in the animated movie and the third and fourth movie. But they have this glow to him, and he's just staring at him. Or he's staring at her. And he tells them, and they have a small conversation, and he sits back down, and he says, "Did I kill this guy?" "No." "Check the hole." And so they look where he was killed, where they found his blood, and there's just a hole leading into the ground. And so this woman is like, everyone's telling her, "You do not trust that psychopath. What the fuck are you thinking?" She goes, "You know what? He's told us this. Let's at least look." So she crawls into this hole with this metal cable attached to her. And she's crawling through the hole, and the first thing she finds is this flashlight that's cracked and covered in blood. And then she keeps looking and keeps looking. She crawls deeper, and finally it opens up into a cavern. She starts looking around with a flashlight. She sees nothing. Now, when you watch the movie, you see this shit moving in the background. And then she keeps walking, and then she goes around a corner, and she finds this dude's foot that's been gnawed off at right above the ankle.
Rough.
And then one of the things you see moving in the background uses his tail and swipes the flashlight out of her hand.
Okay.
And then suddenly she starts hearing all this shit moving around her. And then she crawls up a pipe with light in it, and she starts calling for help, and then they rescue her at the last second. They have to cut the metal cable off of her in order to keep her from being dragged back down under. From there, that reveals there's more of a danger on this fucking planet than they think.
Right.
But they seem to avoid the light.
Okay.
So then they start talking to Riddick, more and all this, and he's being just a fucking know-it-all. He knows exactly what the fuck's going on this planet.
Right. So he knows what the score is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then they just they end up depending on him to get them off this planet. By the end of it, there are 2 survivors that he gets off the planet out of a group of, I think, maybe 10 or 13.
Okay.
And they've got some gruesome shit in this one.
Oh wow.
But so
I've seen it, but I don't really. I have no vivid memories of it.
Oh yeah, if you want, I've got it on DVD. You can borrow.
I might have to.
It's a great fucking movie. It's It's honestly, it was one of my favorite movies because I saw The Chronicles of Riddick, and I was like, there's a first movie to this fucking thing.
Right.
I want to find that.
Right.
And so then I ended up finding Pitch Black, and I watched it, and it's just so fucking awesome.
Right.
Like, it's the movie itself doesn't really compare to The Silence of the Lambs just because it's not the same kind of horror.
Right.
But the interrogation scenes, the interactions that these other characters have with this murdering psychopath, they do have equal grounds.
Right.
Like you have this one guy who's talking about eating someone's liver with fava beans.
Good pull.
And then you have this psychopath who's talking to a little girl who's maybe 10, 13 about you got to kill a few people. Or how do I get eyes like that? You got to kill a few people. Then you got to get sent to a slam where they tell you you're never going to see daylight again. Then you find a surgeon to do a surgical shine job on your eyeballs.
Okay. So he's not born with those eyes.
That's what he tells this little girl, but in all seriousness, if you look at some of the extra story they put behind, like if you play the video game Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay, they explain how he has the eyes.
Oh, okay.
Because Riddick is an alien, technically. He's called a Furian. And there's a Furian like birthright with these eyes where he gets them during a doctor is healing him, like sewing him up from all these cuts he's got and trying to keep him alive. And during that operation, his body's put under major stress and he does get these eyes.
Okay.
So it's not a surgical shine job. It's a birthright of the Furian.
I see.
And they do address that in the third movie.
I see.
The Chronicles of Riddick, where the 13-year-old girl who he talked to in the first movie is pissed off at him because he left her behind, and then you hear a conversation that he has with her because now she's like in her 20s. She's been arrested. She's killed people. All this other stuff. She's been enslaved. All this other shit that's gone on.
Right.
And she asks him, "You weren't telling the truth, you motherfucker. There was no doctor who could do a surgical shine job on my eyeballs, was there?" Yeah.
So they thread that needle.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's fucking badass.
I mean, it's definitely a movie I would recommend to everyone to watch.
I'd have to watch that again.
Even if you don't like Vin Diesel, it's completely different from any.
Vin Diesel. I don't mind Vin Diesel.
Oh, I know, but it's.
I really liked him in that movie, A Man Apart. Really liked him in that.
Yeah,
that was good.
But I mean, it's completely different from any Vin Diesel movie you've ever seen. Granted, he kind of lost stride with the fourth one, Riddick, the Riddick movie. I mean, but that one is at the same time, it's Riddick trying to reinvent himself after he's basically had a cushy ending for the third movie. Okay. So, but we'll see how they do it with the next movie.
Right on. All right, so that's Pitch Black, man. What's next, man? What's your next throwback?
This one's actually, you're probably going to be a little familiar with this one too.
Okay.
Castlevania.
Okay.
And this is one of the older. I mean, I think this predates Zelda.
I remember there being a Castlevania for 64, but give me a quick synopsis of the storyline. Just a quick synopsis of Castlevania.
Dracula has summoned an army of demons and undead and has unleashed them onto the world. Okay. Now, depending on which game you either play as Alucard. Okay. Or I forget what the exact name is. It starts with like a D or something. But it's a family of vampire hunters. Okay. And you play as either one of the characters, depending on which game, and your whole mission is to fight your way through Dracula's castle through this army of undead and monsters and zombies. And you're supposed to get to Dracula, and you're supposed to defeat him to save the world. Right. Now, again, depends on which one you are. The story behind the characters is... Desmus, I think, is the monster hunter's name. Okay. His whole family, his ancestors' history is about hunting monsters and vampire killing. So like a Van Helsing type character. Yes. Got it. But much more in the family. Okay. He's not just like left on the steps of a church and given holy weapons by monks. This one is it's in his family. Okay. He's like literally he has a sword and a whip enchanted to kill these things. That's like Blade. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Almost, but
Love
yeah,
me some Blade.
just not as high. But and then you have Alucard,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, and in these games they don't touch on either character's backstory.
Okay, so
It's
that
literally
remains a mystery.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, if you do your research, you can find this stuff.
Okay.
Alucard is Dracula's son.
Fuck.
Yeah, and he's actually he's a half vampire. But
Question.
what?
How does Dracula get a boner? His heart's not beating. Nothing is circulating blood.
You could ask the same questions for that. What was it? True Blood.
Does he have to,
Yeah.
like, tie a stick to it?
Something? I don't know.
Does he use a pump? Maybe
Does he
he
use a
uses
pump?
Maybe he has a Swedish-made penis enlarger.
Why does it have to be Swedish?
I'm just, okay.
Yeah, it's a thought.
How does he have a son if he can't get a boner, though?
It's Dracula.
Okay,
man.
I'll you know what? I'll file that under creative license.
Yes, which I'm sure they took. But so you're basically Dracula's son,
Okay.
and I love how Alucard is just Dracula spelled backwards. Real creative on that one.
Oh, that kind of reminds me of, like, Scrubs with Dr. Acula.
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Oh no, have you there's an anime actually, very great anime called Helsing. Yeah, just Helsing.
Just Helsing?
Just Helsing.
I think I've heard of it.
They've got Helsing and then they made another one which was Helsing Ultimate.
Okay.
But I'll touch on that another time,
Okay.
maybe later on in this discussion. But Alucard is Dracula's son,
Okay.
and he's fighting his way through. Now, one of the things I do recommend that you can watch as a backstory for, this franchise for Castlevania is they came out with a animated show.
Uh-huh.
It's on Netflix.
Is it?
It's 10 episodes long.
Well, I'm a lover of all things Dracula, man. So
Yes.
if Dracula's involved, I'll have to check it out.
Well, in this animated series it starts off with this woman who ventures to Dracula's castle, stupidly.
Right.
And she has this long conversation with Dracula because Dracula tells her, I don't meddle in the affair with men. Men don't deserve it.
Right.
And she's a doctor. And you find out she's a doctor. She's looking for Dracula's castle because she wants to use the science that he has in his castle. She wants to know the knowledge
Right.
to help mankind, to heal mankind.
Okay.
And so she has this conversation about ethics with Dracula.
Interesting.
Which is if you listen to the conversation, it's fucking cool.
Okay.
And then because Dracula's whole standpoint is mankind doesn't deserve it. They've committed so many atrocities. They don't know. I've drawn myself away from mankind because they're not fucking worth it.
Okay.
And this woman says, well, there are some who aren't worth it. I will admit that. But what about all the innocents of the world that are left out there to fend for themselves? And of course, she's a doctor, so I mean, that's going to be her standpoint. But eventually, like towards the end of the conversation, Dracula leads her through a door. She walks through this door, and it's a massive library that takes up, from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, yeah.
It's bigger than that fucking library.
Now they're
And-
just measuring dicks.
Yeah. And then, of course, and like in the middle of this library, there's tables of beakers and science equipment, stuff that she's been looking for. And he said, all right, you've convinced me. You can go ahead and do what you want to do. Come and go as you please.
Okay.
Then it skips forward like 15 years, maybe 10 or 5, something along those lines. And Dracula has married this woman
Interesting.
and he always refers to her as, you prove to me that mankind deserves a chance to exist.
Okay.
He's like, you show me the goodness of man.
Okay.
Skip forward that so many years that they do. She's being burned at the stake by the church.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. Because she was a doctor. She practiced science, and that was blasphemy to their eyes.
Okay.
So she's being burned at the stake as a witch.
Okay.
And she's calling out to this guy, please spare them. Do not blame them.
Right.
Pulling a major Jesus, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Okay.
Only she's crying out to Dracula.
Okay.
And
I take it he does not heed that. I take it he holds a grudge.
very much.
Mm-hmm.
Because and then it cut, as she's burning, Like as she starts to burn personally,
Right.
it shows Dracula walking up to their house that they have built together. And he walks up to it and it's completely burned down. It's completely destroyed.
Wow.
And this old woman comes up and she goes, "What are you looking for, dearie?" He's like, "Where's the woman of this house?" She goes, "Oh, she's in town, currently being burned at the stake as a witch by the church."
I like how matter of fact and just business like you are. You're like, oh, she's in the middle of town.
Well, I mean, I'm paraphrasing the conversation honestly, because I mean, there's so much more. It's old English,
I
man.
personally think the dialogue should be like that, just matter of fact. Like, oh, she's down there getting burned.
Well, I mean, and the old woman is very much like she's sympathetic towards it. You can tell she's not attending the burning because she doesn't believe it. Like, and she shows sympathy towards like the woman,
Right.
and so she informs Dracula what's going on. And he just kind of he's got a backpack. He's been traveling, he's traveling the world. And he's holding a backpack, and you just see his hand tighten on the straps of the backpack, and then he tells her, "Leave, get out of here, get as far away from here as you can, because shit's about to happen."
Okay.
And then he disappears in a tower of flaming blood, and goes off in that crowd of bats. So then it cuts to the part the wife's body, his wife's body's already burnt, she's
Charred.
dead, she's
She's crispy.
charred, yeah. And then the church, the bishop at the time is telling the townsfolk everything, and he's celebrating. He's like, "Oh, that's another witch down."
They're reveling in their act.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Then Dracula's visage appears in the sky. And he tells them, "You have committed this atrocity to a woman who showed me that you all deserve to live.
Right.
What fucking reason do I have now?"
So he's had a bit of a change of heart. Now tell me, does he go all Lost Boys on them? The Lost Boys bonfire scene?
Kinda.
Yes! Yes, bitch!
Kinda. And it's a small bit there, but
Okay.
he essentially ends it with, "You have 1 year to pray to whatever god you have before I come back."
So he throws the gauntlet down. Okay.
He gives them a 1 year time frame.
Okay.
He tells them, "I will come back in 1 year exactly and reap your fucking souls."
Well, to a guy that's immortal, what's a year, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole thing. He needs a year. And I'll say why.
Okay.
So then it cuts to a scene where he's remains nameless so far, but you see a white-haired gentleman come up and call Dracula father. And he tells him, "Mother would not want this."
Okay.
At this point, Dracula says, "Fucking stop me."
Yeah.
And so then you see him and Alucard clash.
Okay.
And then it cuts to a year later.
Right.
And then you suddenly see, and then there's a new bishop to the church in the town, and he's calling out, "A year ago, the devil appeared to us and threatened us with a year, yet here we stand, we are fine." Then Dracula appears in the sky again.
Oh boy.
"I have given you 1 year to pray to whatever gods you have. Your time is here."
Lost Boys.
Yeah. Then
Does he have a sweet mullet?
No.
Because
Kiefer
Sutherland had an amazing mullet in that movie.
He rocks a long hair though.
Okay.
He's got some long
I would have
hair.
gone with the mullet.
But
I'd have given him a dirty Joe Dirt.
He's got that classic Vladimir vampire look, because
Okay.
they do reference Vladimir the Impaler,
Okay.
who is
Yeah,
becomes
Vlad Dragulya.
yes, and so he's got the long hair, he's got the red trench coat and everything. He's got the duster,
Right.
but
Interesting fasting choice, but go on.
well, I mean, and so he tells him that, and suddenly he just disappears, and then it starts to rain blood,
Fucking metal. Yes.
and everyone's panicking and losing their shit.
Yes.
And then flying demons pour out of the sky and devour everybody.
And Slayer's in the background fucking playing Rain and Blood.
Something close to that.
They need to do that. They need to
And
do
then
that.
there's an earthquake. It collapses the entire church. The current bishop of the church gets crushed under a giant cross.
Dude, Dracula went fucking metal as shit.
He did. And then it cuts to a little bit later where Dracula's army has destroyed that town and is now moving across the countryside decimating everybody.
Wow.
Like there's indiscriminate killing.
I'm gonna
of
fucking
everybody.
watch this show now.
It's
You
fucking
fucking
cool.
sold me.
It's fucking
You
cool.
sold me something fierce.
But then, like, they, in the town that is just now falling under siege by Dracula, they introduced the Desmond character.
Okay.
Who's the vampire hunter.
Okay.
Whose family has been shamed by the church because they practice science and magic.
Okay. So does he have to team up with Dracula's son?
Not until the end of the 10th episode.
Okay.
Where, like, they find...
That's a bit of a conflict of interest, right? He's teaming up with a vampire.
Not really, because, like, Dracula's son at this point's like, my father has lost his shit. He needs to be either put down or his mind changed.
Okay.
Like, he's still... I like the way they did it with the scripting because you can tell he still loves his father.
Okay.
You can tell he still wants his father to follow the idealisms that his mother left
Right.
behind. Like, he very much is pissed off about the church
Right.
burning his mother, but at the same time, he recognizes his mother would not want revenge taken.
He's trying to rise above it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say about it, and do watch it, but there's a fucking beautiful scene that I have to tell you about where the bishop who burned Dracula's wife is in this town that has just fallen under siege, and the siege actually begins. And, like, while Desmond and a bunch of other people are trying to fight back against the demons, this bishop who burned Dracula's wife in the very beginning is, like, sitting in his church going, the church will prevail.
Right.
And then the fucking demons enter the church.
Aha.
And he's, like, panicking his fucking shit going, you can't enter here. This is a house of God. And then the demons, and, like, there's, like, these winged demons who are crawling out down the walls. And then there's, like, a giant, like, spider/wolf demon who comes in and is talking to the bishop, going, this is no house of God. God has abandoned you. He has seen what you have done. He has left you to rot.
Metal. God hates us all.
Exactly.
Fuck
And, like,
yeah.
and, like, the whole, like, this bishop falls silent. He just loses, like, you can see the horrified look on his face. He's like, you have burned an innocence at the stake. God has left you.
Fuck yeah.
And then, the demon tells the bishop, but we love you, though.
Ha!
And then, like, the bishop's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And the demon says, without you, Dracula would have never unleashed us onto the world to reap this blood.
That's a badass line.
And then, like, he grabs the bishop and goes, give me a kiss.
Oh!
And then you just see this bishop's head squash like a melon.
Fuck yeah, Brad. You sold me. I'm watching that shit
It's
tonight.
fucking cool.
I'm watching that tonight.
It's
you
10
fucking
episodes.
Sold me. You fucking sold me.
I loved it so much. Like, it's, for a long time, I found this to be a pattern. I've always, like, seen stuff growing up. I've always gone, you know what, they should do this. And then, like, this decade alone has been the time where all that shit has been happening. I'm just fucking loving it. Like, the moment I played my first Castlevania game, I'm like, this should make a fucking movie.
So you would say this is like certainly a successful adaptation of game into
absolutely,
narrative
because
kind of storytelling.
with Castlevania, they've never really given you much story except for, like, some dialogue that is said. But they've never touched on, okay, these games have Desmus, these games have Alucard. This is the first time you're seeing these two come together and actually interact.
Right on.
And it's fucking cool.
Right on. You sold me. I'm gonna check that out tonight. Like tonight, I'm watching that.
Do it.
Okay, so we're gonna take a quick minute to do some plugs. And we're
Yes.
gonna talk about some other stuff for just real quick. First and foremost, we got to plug our team, which makes this happen, and those, of course, are the guys over at the Nucleus Labs Recording Studios. That is the Nucleus Labs Recording Studios here in San Antonio, Texas. Without them, this show does not happen. So, I want to give them a good shout out. I mentioned these guys earlier, but I got to mention it again. There is a fledgling new comic book store just down the road from where I live here in San Antonio, Texas, called Gravity Damage Comics. It's a small little outfit, but they have that store packed to the gills. It is a geek's paradise in there. This will be where I get my books. This will be where I frequent, and I want to give them a good shout out for giving me an option so close to home and just opening up a really cool store with a lot of good stuff in there and providing me with all the geekness that I can ever want.
Yes, I mean, this is the first time I've had a comic book store so close, and I mean, I haven't read comics in 12 years, and once they opened, I finally got my first comic like ever in a decade or so.
Yeah, man. I'm
And
all
so
about that.
I'm starting to read those again.
I'm all about that. And now, being that this is a Halloween show, and being that I am an avid listener of music, I love music. I feel that this is time to share a band that I'm a huge fan of. They're a local band here from San Antonio, Texas, called USO. That is the Unregistered Sex Offenders. Sleazy metal at its finest, and they are going to give our listeners a look into a look at their next Halloween single. This band, they put out a single every Halloween, and they do a video for it. They go all out. They are all about Halloween. So, in my dealings with them, I have gotten us the next Halloween single for 2017,
Really?
called Sex Cauldron.
Nice.
Without further ado, here is USO, San Antonio's USO, with Sex Cauldron.
Fine folk, they snake into the nearby wood. On they go to the hidden glade. There the foul three meet. Sirens of seduction to some, hobbies of leisure to others. One purpose brings them together, to partake in the concoction of a profoundly lustful libation. Making haste, they must prepare before the sun expires. Lose of facts that should burn into the midnight hours. The woods strike a flame, light the fire. Rush through the wood and find the roots of desire. Ritual guard, throw me black as bitch. Black as ring out, blacker than the foulest witch. Wretched three, gather round the fire and stir the pot, till the wicked creaky choir. Lion mute and tongue of dog. Crystal water turns the dark where we its presence, leaves its mark and boiling currents, bound like drums with something wicked. This way clowns, grab a chalice, dunk it deep, take a chug, no need to be disgraced. Pass to the left, drink up your fill, drink to the dawn to get your thrill. Poison sinks in, go into your head. Don't overindulge, you meet your death. Look up there, ring its statues in the air. Try to flee, singing slots on three. By the moonlight, we still have a left to fight. I'll take heed of felon craving, shall we feed? Infringement begins, grace of routes and straddle. We gallop about, something fitting retro battle. Ritualized, sexually roused, sinfully sweet, oath, made in hell fire. Extras and with a sunshine line. Lucky little stage like a wig waiting for its ride. Listen to sound, they quickly turn around. The midnight beast is satiate, the spell has now arrived. Their minds congealed, seduction keeps them on their knees. Despite them intending mystic flames, they try to flee the spike of three as broomsticks scream. Look up there, wicked snatches in the air. Erotic descent upon unwilling souls beware. The pinnacle bed to learn their iniquitous ways. Their forceful act becomes a sexual haze. Never in need or suffer wicked greed. Beware of the night, a victim to their sultry days. Never regret from a pleasurable demise. Everything they fuck, it dies. Wonders If the Christ was just a dream, peasants choke thirst and cry as they expire while the horse proceed to sweep the sky. The hunt now begins. Hearken to the Christian cry. Nowhere to hide. Little heart is such a vow. Increase in this hour. We shall devour. Thrill of the chase. The robber gas. Step as a day yet. Uncertain with malicious intent. Near is the final curtain of three now seas. Brought to their knees. Confessing now. Confessing which.
Bring the place, burn the dice. Traffic green on Halloween.
Bind the three to the willow tree. No remorse for none of thee. Repent ye now, thou shalt confess. This foul soul shall never rest. Higher, higher, burning fire. Rails on high, making music like a choir. That you is three-minded desire. Lasting in eternal balefire.
Fuck yeah, more of that, less of everything else. So if you're in the San Antonio area or the Austin area or the Houston area, because these guys do travel, look out for a show near you, get the single, get any music they put out, you will be better for it. So, it's Halloween, Brad.
Yes.
And if we're going to do a show on Halloween, we got to have a segment that's Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
So, without further ado, we are premiering a Halloween segment we're going to call Witches and Wizards. All right, Brad, lead Witches and Wizards off.
All right.
What are you going to talk about for this segment?
Well, I mean, with this kind of thing, I mean, there's a lot of choices. Definitely hard decisions to make.
Indeed.
You can't. Well, you could, but you don't really want to pick something too obvious or too well known. But I'm gonna talk about the books.
Okay.
Of something called the Inheritance Cycle.
Okay.
Which is something most people know as Aragon.
Okay.
And more importantly, I'm talking about the character who creates all the conflict in all 4 books.
Okay.
Yep, 4 books.
So the central antagonist.
Yes.
Okay.
Emperor Galbatorix.
Okay.
The ancient. I mean, I think he's in the books. He's like 500 years old, maybe more. But he's achieved immortality through the use of being a dragon rider.
Okay.
Just like the main protagonist.
Okay.
And I mean, there's a rich backstory behind every single character in Aragon. I mean, every character is tied together. It's exhausting trying to figure it all out at once.
Right.
But I mean, if you read the books, you get a lot of the information you will ever need. Fuck the movie. Fuck the game. Those are atrocities that should have never happened.
Brad's got some opinions tonight.
No. Those, I mean, there's the Holocaust had book burnings. I will host DVD burnings.
Wow, man, that shit cuts you deep. Then
I hate the game and the movies.
Ooh.
God.
Ooh.
So horrible.
Oh, man.
Should have never been made.
So tell me about this character. Like, what's his motivations?
Galbatorix started out as a young dragon rider.
Okay.
Just like, well, not just like, but like Aragon, the main character.
Right.
He had his dragon. He raised that dragon. He obtained immortality the moment dragon bonded with him. The only way he can be killed is through combat.
Right.
Now, Galbatorix is a bit more of a tragedy, though.
Okay.
With Galbatorix, he was on a patrol with another one of the dragon riders who betrayed everyone. which is like his right-hand man. They were on a mission. Their dragons got killed.
Okay.
Now, in the books, when a rider dies, the dragon dies along with them because the bond that they form, there's just so much agony. The dragon can't live without them.
Right.
Whereas it's kind of reversed, where if the dragon dies, the human can't live on.
Right.
But they maintain that agony. They live on with that agony.
Okay.
Unless they kill themselves.
Right.
Which a lot do. But with Galbatorix, when his dragon died, he kind of had a little bit of a mental snap. He couldn't handle the devastation of it.
Okay.
He demanded another dragon to bond with, to fill that void that he felt when his dragon died.
Right.
And then they would not give it to him. They refused.
Okay.
Because they recognized the instability he had.
So they saw that as maybe like a corrupting influence.
Yes.
Okay.
They saw he was unstable. They knew that they couldn't really, become like, they couldn't risk giving him another dragon.
Okay.
And so as a result, he threw himself, and this is like part that they really don't touch on until like the very last book.
Okay.
But he threw himself into studies.
Okay.
Everything. And he started to study magic that the dragon riders had forbidden.
Okay.
They told him, you can't touch this. So he started to study that, and he eventually found he learned how to decipher names in the forgotten language that is like the elves and the dragons and everything.
Okay.
It's the language that in the Eragon universe, the language holds all the power, and by speaking, and names hold the most power overall.
Okay.
With names, you can control that name.
Okay.
And so he learned, he threw himself into the studies of trying to learn the ancient language. And through that, he learned how to interpret names.
Okay.
Because a name in the ancient language is not like what you're called. It's who you are.
Okay.
It's what makes up your base essence.
Okay.
That's what determines your name in the ancient language.
Okay.
Well, once he achieved this, him and like all the other dragon riders who defected with him went and stole dragon eggs. Once they stole the dragon eggs, Galbatorix used the ancient language to enslave those dragons to hatch for the different riders.
Okay.
And that's how they got the dragons to wage a war against themselves.
Okay.
Through that, they wiped out the dragon riders.
Oh, wow.
And Galbatorix assumed power.
Okay.
Then with all the defectors who went with him, who helped him defeat the dragon riders, they all became, in the books, they're called the Forsworn. They lost their names. The dragons, like the ancient dragons, like the oldest dragons, used the ancient language and took all their names from them.
Damn.
So now they were just known as the Forsworn.
Okay.
They had no other way of being known. The dragons didn't.
Right.
The humans themselves had their names by the human standards.
Right.
But the dragons had nothing.
Right.
So Galbatorix rules, an uprising happens with the dragon riders that remained. And they kill off the Forsworn except for the right-hand man, the one who lost his dragon with Galbatorix. And so, but Galbatorix maintained his dragon.
Okay.
Who he continued to enslave with his ancient language name.
Right.
And so then it's just a matter of Galbatorix ruling over this land and everything. He's become a tyrant.
Right.
He's essentially lost his mind.
Right. So absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay.
But I mean, with him, it was more. I mean, and when you read the books, when you get to the last book, you really you almost feel sad for him, just because it's like a matter of he's trying to fill a void that he lost.
Right.
He's trying to cope with that loss by filling it, and by doing that, he's basically become what he's hated.
Right. So that's your window on the character, is his tragedy.
Exactly.
Which is a hallmark of good writing, because
Yes.
if you're going to write a good antagonist, there has to be. You have to be able to understand their motivations. You don't have to agree with their motivations, but you got to be able to understand them. So I get what you're saying. That's solid writing right there.
I mean, it's definitely a book I'd recommend reading. I've read all 4 books several times. I own all 4 books, and I mean, that's in the books are honestly the reason why I feel the way I do with the movie and the game. Because they took so much character development out. When you read the first book, the first half of the entire book is character development to Aragon and Saphira, where Aragon raises Saphira, the dragon, and they have this bond, and it opens up so much for the story.
Right.
Where in the movie, literally Aragon's teaching her how to fly. She flies, gets struck by lightning, instantly grows into a full-grown dragon.
Wow.
No. No. Never happens.
Yeah, and often you will find that the original literature
Oh, yeah.
is a little more vivid than the film, just because, a good wordsmith knows how to craft something that puts that image in your head.
And that's just the
And
thing.
sometimes that's the hard thing, is reconciling the image in your head with what you see on screen.
But see, that's the thing. If you read just read the first book. I mean, I guarantee you, after you read the first book, you'll be hooked on all the books.
Right. And you think do you think the shortcomings of the film were more like the screenwriters maybe not being as reverent with the material
Yes,
as they should have been?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because, in the books, Brahm is he's more relatable to Gandalf.
Ooh.
Like
Ooh.
he honestly has that
Yeah,
feel
you got my
because
attention.
they describe him as like an old man, long white beard.
Right.
He wears a hat. He has the hat.
Uh-huh.
He smokes a pipe, and he tells stories. Like
Okay.
that's his role in the opening of the book in the village.
Right. And that's very similar to Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings. He's very much there for exposition. So, for example, like my two favorite chapters of The Fellowship of the Ring, maybe my two favorite chapters of the entire series, is Chapter 2, A Shadow of the Past, and Chapter 12, The Council of Elrond, because they're both massive exposition dumps, and it's all world building. It is what Tolkien did best, which was build a universe.
Yes.
So I get what you're saying. That's the importance of stories and exposition in that,
Yes.
because that builds the world, that builds the fullness of that world.
I'm going to tell you right now, Rick Riordan killed it.
I'm gonna check it out.
Like
you know what?
Rick
Just for
Riordan
you,
for me,
I'm gonna check it out.
Rick Riordan is honestly my Tolkien.
That's a bold statement.
I mean, and again, and that's what destroyed the movie for me just right off the bat. I hated the movie right off the bat because in the first 15 minutes of the movie, they just like ruined the first half of the first book.
Man, you're fired up. You are fired up.
Oh, I love these books. I love these books. But yeah, so I mean that's honestly the character. I mean, his insanity has just driven all of his motives from that point forward in the story. And I loved it because the tragedy brought about the insanity,
Right.
and the insanity brought about the villain.
Right. I like that, man. That's a cool arc. I'm gonna check that out. So I guess my contribution to Witches and Wizards is Tolkien based, because it is the fall, and every fall I have to imbibe Tolkien. It has to happen in the fall. Maybe it has something to do with the story of the Lord of the Rings beginning in September at dear old Uncle Bilbo's birthday, the 22nd of September. And so every fall I always kind of dive headfirst into Tolkien. And this fall I actually listened to the BBC radio drama of the Lord of the Rings. It's pretty fucking cool. It actually has Ian Holm playing Frodo, which he then plays Bilbo in the films. It's pretty cool. But because of that, my contribution is going to be the Witch King of Angmar, the Lord of the Nazgul. I like this character a lot. Mostly because it's a character that is explored a little bit in the book. They kind of touch on what he is a little bit, but he is really flushed out in the broader source material. Now, we know that he is the Lord of the Nazgul, so he is the greatest of the nine, and he is the one of the 9 men that is given rings of power by Sauron, and this is in the Second Age. because in the Second Age, the 3 rings were forged by the elves, right? But those were not connected to Sauron. They were independent. They were not forged with him. But Sauron, with Celebrimbor, helped forge the 7 rings for the dwarves and the 9 rings for men. So in the film, in that little prologue, where you see the nine men holding up the rings, the guy at the forefront, that's the Witch King. That is the Witch King of Angmar. Now, from what I understand, he was once a Númenórean king of men, and he was tempted by Sauron, right, and given the Ring of Power. That's why Aragorn calls them Sauron the Deceiver, because of what he did to the men of Númenor. And he eventually succumbs to the power of that ring, and he becomes a wraith. And he is then basically impressed into service in Sauron's army. He becomes the leader of Sauron's army, his foremost general. And he's this visage of terror. Everywhere he goes, he inspires terror and panic. And when the last alliance of elves and men overthrows Sauron, and Isildur cuts that ring of power off his hand, the Witch King, he still survives because the ring survived, and the Witch King's powers are inexorably linked to Sauron's. So he then establishes the kingdom of Angmar in the north, and he's challenging the northern kingdom, right? Because at the time, when the Númenórean kings, after the last alliance, when they established the lands of Gondor and Arnor, they were separate kingdoms, but whole, in a way. And the southern kingdom in Gondor was still fairly strong, fairly stout, still had a line of kings, but the northern kingdom was beginning to falter. And that's where the Witch King comes in. From Angmar, he lays siege to these 3 kingdoms. And eventually he starts making his way down, conquering this place and conquering that place. And then he does end up overthrowing the northern kingdom at the Battle of Fornost, and he establishes his new capital there. And it is only through an alliance of elves and Dunedain, which are the kind of remnants of the northern kingdom, and the elves were led by Glorfindel, which you see him briefly in the Fellowship of the Ring. He's also in Silmarillion quite a bit. They end up overthrowing the Witch King and banishing him, and then the Witch King flees down back to the south, and that's when he takes Minas Ithil, the Tower of the Moon, and turns it into Minas Morgul. And that's where they kind of establish that last bastion. And it is the Witch King that ends the line of kings in Gondor. I believe it was with the Earnor, the last king of Gondor. He challenged him to single combat, and that king went to Minas Morgul and got his shit handed to him.
Yeah.
And that's when the line of kings ended and the line of the stewards began. So it was the Witch King that ended that. And, from Minas Morgul, you don't really hear much from him again until Sauron comes back to Mordor from Dol Guldur. And then, of course, you get him in the Fellowship of the Ring. He's the leader of the 9, leader of the Nazgul.
Stabs Frodo.
He does. He stabs Frodo on Weathertop. He's also, when Frodo, Sam, and Gollum are walking through the dead marshes and the Nazgul comes on the wings, he's the one. That's why Frodo can feel the blade. Yeah. He can feel the wound in his shoulder from the Morgul blade.
That's right.
And ultimately, the Witch King does meet his downfall at the Battle of Pelennor Fields. He was killed by Éowyn, which is funny because Glorfindel said that Glorfindel was the one that said that no living man will kill the Witch King, and then of course that prophecy.
I am no man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that prophecy does not actually come true until the Battle of Pelennor Fields. Now the difference in the films is in the Hobbit films you see the Witch King quite a bit. You see him,
That's right. Wait, do you?
Yes, you do. You see him quite a bit because
he's like the main shit who's
when
as a ghost.
when Radagast the Brown is checking out Dol Guldur, he's the visage of a wraith that attacks him.
Yeah,
that's the Witch King, and of course you see them when the White Council comes to rescue Gandalf and they fight the Nazgul. You see him there too. He is the one that's causing the most shit. He's the one wrecking house the most. Yeah. And then of course they banish him and everything. But in the books it's different. In the films they said that the Nazgul, the 9 wraiths were killed. The 9 men were killed and they were buried and locked away, and you could never you can never get to them. The Witch King was buried in a mountain, and they show that pretty cool scene, I think.
I was about to say they show that when they're digging through the
When Radagast and Gandalf are checking out that mountain, and that's when they find the graves.
and they
of
see
the
like the
Nazgul.
graves all busted
Right.
open and shit.
Right. So that doesn't happen in the books. In the books, literally, the Witch King and all the other Nazgul, they're in Minas Morgul. That's where they go after the last alliance, after Angmar falls, and that's where they go. But I liked what the movies did. I think it was pretty clever, especially showing the Nazgul trying to protect Sauron at Dol Guldur and fight the White Council. That scene was pretty badass. I know there's a lot of people that had their issues with the Hobbit trilogy, which is fine, but I liked it. I liked that scene especially because it's a direct tie-in to the film, to the Lord of the Rings films. I liked that, but it is different from the books, and of course, for some reason, we don't get Glorfindel in the movies.
Yeah.
But that's what we get, right?
Again, it's like me with Aragon.
Right. I mean, the thing is, I love the films because I firmly believe that the writing team and Peter Jackson, they
found that middle ground.
Well, they're extremely reverent of the material, but they're also very realistic in that there are some things that work in literature that won't work in film. And on the other end, there's things in film that won't work in literature. So a complete and total adaptation of The Lord of the Rings into film or The Hobbit into film is really tough to do because, like, for example, at the end of Return of the King, you don't see the Scouring of the Shire. You don't see that because it's anticlimactic. You already had that massive climax of Sauron being defeated and all that. To have the characters go back and have to fight for the Shire would be just another hour.
But you know what? I honestly think that would be fucking awesome.
And you know what? Maybe down the road they might do another one.
Maybe.
I hope they don't. I hope they leave that alone.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
I think it was perfect, and I don't want them messing with it. Now, what I want is a Game of Thrones style show for the Silmarillion, because I want to see the Second Age, and I want to see what the Witch King does with Angmar in the Battle of Fornost. I want to see that shit, and it could work. It could fucking work, and they could do it amazingly well.
I am gonna give you a little bit of hope on this one that they did transfer it into a video game.
With what?
Lord of the Rings, the Second Age, they have video games spanning the First Age, Second Age, and Third Age.
I had no fucking idea about this, man.
It was back in the time of the original Xbox.
Oh, fuck.
It's my favorite one is actually it's turn-based combat, and it's Lord of the Rings, the Third Age.
See, that's badass. Because, I mean, I know that the Tolkien Trust has the rights to the Silmarillion, to the Children of Húrin, to all the to Beren and Luthien. By the way, read Beren and Luthien. That book is fucking badass.
I'll borrow that one. You can borrow Aragon.
There you go. But they have the film rights, and they don't. Christopher Tolkien, the professor's son, has a not good opinion of the films and everything. He has a very, very not good opinion, and that has made the Tolkien family, I think, reluctant to surrender any of those rights or sell any of those rights. But I really fucking think a miniseries is the best way to go about telling all those stories.
Make it a Netflix show.
Exactly, because there's far too much there. Because you have not only the creation story of the beginning of Middle Earth, you have the First Age, which is full of its own drama and its own things. There's infinite amount of stories, and then you have the fall of Numenor, the Akalabeth, where Sauron gets that title of the Deceiver. Because, dude, he literally makes the men of Numenor forsake the High Elves, and they forsake the Valar completely, and they begin to worship him. And that's what causes the fall of Numenor. Sauron sunk a fucking island. He caused the Valar to sink Numenor for their insolence.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm just saying that's something that, please, powers that be, make that happen. Give me that.
Give them like a kind of a post prequel.
Yeah, give me all of it. Give me all of it, all over my face, neck, and chest. I want it all. Because I'm a Tolkien. Yeah. Dude, yes, because I'm a Tolkien freak. I'm a Tolkien addict. I will mainline Tolkien. The only reason I have not watched those films yet this year is because the DVDs I have are scratched to shit. Thank you, DVD Exchange. Suck a dick. Your fucking DVDs that are always come in scratched. So that's my thing. But we have one last thing to talk about here, ladies and gentlemen. One last thing that I feel strongly about. I don't want this. I don't want this at all. There is talk of a Hocus Pocus reboot. Fuck no. Leave it alone. I don't want it. I don't want this.
You know what? I overall I agree with you just because my mom just this time of year would always watch Hocus Pocus over and over.
We are going to
and
have a
over
Hocus
again.
Pocus party
I'm
at
good.
this house.
No, I'm good. I don't.
No, it's
want
going to
it.
happen because
good.
we are going to invite everyone over. We're going to like sit around in our PJs, eat snack food, and watch Hocus
I'm
Pocus.
not coming.
They don't need to touch this movie, Brad.
They really. I will agree with you. They really don't.
What are they going to add to it?
From what I've heard, it's not necessarily a reboot as it is a sequel. It's the story. The storyline I've heard that they were going to do with it is that the three sisters' mother is
Okay.
brought back to life.
Okay.
And she in turns brings her three daughters back.
Okay.
And then it's the four of them trying to get what was the younger sister's name? But it's
Sarah.
Sarah. It's Sarah and her kids. But they're coming after them.
Okay. Either way, that story sounds terrible. Because if you bring the sisters back, you nullified the first story. Why did those characters go through any of the fucking trouble if you're going to bring them back? Leave it the fuck alone. And I don't want a fucking reboot because you're not going to add anything to this story. It was a perfectly executed movie. That is a classic.
Yeah.
Leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Like, I swear to God, this is how it starts, Brad. This is how it starts. They're going to start with Hocus Pocus, and then you know what? Before you know it, we're going to have a fucking Back to the Future reboot, and I will no longer want to live on this planet. This is an example of them fucking with movies that don't need to be fucked with.
Yeah, that's true.
And usually, you know what? Like, honestly, most of the time, I can be like, all right, reboot it. You know, let's see what kind of story you can tell. As you can tell in this particular instance, I am militant as shit. Do not fucking touch this movie. Someone needs to tell them this is a bad idea.
Well, I haven't after I heard that like first whispers of it, I haven't heard much else about it. So someone might have already.
I fucking hope so. This does not this abomination does not need to happen. Does not need to fucking happen. Anyway, that's me on my soapbox.
Why don't you consult the book?
Okay, I'm gonna step off my soapbox now, folks, because I think we've had your ears for long enough tonight. So that's our show, man. That's our show for tonight. I do want everyone to stay tuned because as of the 28th, I think, as of the 28th, Brad and I are heading down to the Alamo City Comic-Con, and we will be recording a very short show from the floor. It's going to be like an episode 2.5 special release. We're going to talk about stuff we're seeing on the floor, our thoughts. So stay tuned for that one. Keep an eye out, and then we will be back in November. Brad, where can they find us?
Well, let's see. We have a Facebook page.
Right on.
And it is just Force Losers.
Mm-hmm.
We're on Twitter. It's Force_Losers.
Okay.
And then they can find us mostly. We'll probably be heavily on YouTube mostly.
Yeah.
And I just want to throw a shout out and a kudos to YouTube because it is a pain in the ass nowadays to get any kind of content, it seems, up and running on the internet.
I will agree.
And I've told Kevin about all the hoops I've jumped through trying to get this thing put up and all the crap that has happened to the point where, finally one day Kevin texted me and told me, "Man, why don't we throw this up on YouTube?" And I had a moment where I banged my head up against the wall thinking, why the fuck did I not think of that?
There's a reason we're calling ourselves losers, folks.
Yes.
That is not just a clever name. It's not like we're the shitty Beatles of podcasting.
Well, so long as I'm not Ringo.
Oh, fuck. So, yeah, big shout out to YouTube, man, because if it wasn't for YouTube, we wouldn't have gotten this stuff up. And we will continue to post to YouTube and to SoundCloud. We are still trying to get our stuff on other platforms. Bear with us. Coming from the music world, I literally thought it was just like posting my band's shitty music online, like as simple as just uploading to Bandcamp and then being done with it. I was wrong. I was very wrong.
Yeah, as a nerd, there's RSS feeds that have to be submitted to some of these platforms we want to get onto, and they do not like the RSS feeds that I am giving them.
Magic. Got it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, keep looking for us on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube and SoundCloud.
And then, of course, our email, which is...
It's going to be forcelosers@gmail.com.
Right on.
And for SoundCloud and YouTube both, it's actually a different name. It's going to be the Force Losers Podcast.
Right on, right on. So look us up, subscribe. You can find me at HeavyKevyHKT on the Instagrams. If you need anything else from me, please get it through the email. We will answer any questions you have. And the more questions we get, the sooner we can do a Q&A episode.
Yes.
So,
which will probably be put on Facebook Live.
Yes. Speaking of which, if the Last Jedi trailer drops on Monday, as is foretold and writ in the scrolls, we will be doing a Facebook Live reaction. Keep an eye out for that.
You mean the holocron, sir. Luke himself foretold it.
You know what? Good correction. Good course correction there. Right on. Well, folks, that's it for this evening. We will see you again for the episode 2.5 from the floor of Alamo City Comic-Con.
Yes.
My name's Kev.
My name's Bradford.
And we're out, motherfuckers. Later!